is the Primetime Royale, which we have Saturdays 8 p.m. Eastern, or whenever we actually start. It's kind of a soft opening to these things. I'll start by introducing my guests. Thank you so much, Senpai Chow, for being here.
But you're gonna introduce me.
Did
Yeah, you said you were gonna introduce me.
Yeah.
Or do I have to introduce myself?
Dude,
okay.
Yeah,
thanks.
hi, Senpai Chow.
All right, I'm just messing around with you. I'm feeling it. So hey, Prime, thanks for inviting me to the show. And for those who don't know, I'm Senpai Chow. I'm a Twitch streamer who games, talks anime, political science. It's just my opinion, which is the right opinion always, that political science brings great utility in helping us navigate what is the hellscape that is politics. And such topics allow us to have a clear focus, just like with a camera, you can see better despite a sharper focus. Really looking forward to today's Royale with new and old faces.
Thanks so much. Next, we have American Nacho, who's stopped by our open panels a few times. We really appreciate him being there. American Nacho, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Prime. Thanks for having me on again. I'm also a gamer turned politics commentator, I guess. So I stream games. I talk politics. I think that it's good for like people like all of us. What we're doing, I think. I guess my goal maybe is I want to bring more attention to politics and kind of normalize it instead of having it be this like thing that we all keep locked up in the basement and nobody wants to talk about. I just consider myself a concerned American. I get thrown into the right category, the more conservative. I consider myself more like independent, centrist, right libertarian. So, but yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell. Thanks.
Thanks so much. Next, Revolt Rise. Thanks for being here once again. Revolt Rise used to join us a lot for the previous panel we used to have on Saturdays. The Populous panel, but that gave way to this, and we're happy to have you here, though.
Good to be here. Thank you for having me back. I appreciate it. And yeah, I'm Revolt Rise. I'm probably the most centrist anarcho-communist you'll ever meet. I like to talk about economics and foreign policy stuff, but we'll do it all and have a good time.
Thanks so much. Next, we have an MVP. His name is Joe Lewis. Joe Lewis, thanks for stopping by once again after being on the All Black Everything panel. It was a lot of fun having you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. Like I heard, Venom Jesus decided to just not be here, and we got to keep at least one former champion to challenge another former champion. So glad to be here. I have a twitch.tv/Joe Lewis. For those who don't know, the O in my name for my handle is a 0. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, thanks so much. Next, we have Mr. Fanatic also. They're on All Black Everything previously, and all started there. Mr. Fanatic, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm kind of excited, just in general. I don't know. I like talking politics. It seems like we got a pretty good mixed bunch, so I think this should be a pretty good conversation. I'm excited.
Yeah, same here. All right, we have next we have Katarana. Katarana, for a first, right? A prime time first. Katarana has been the only person to ever been on all of my shows, and all in 1 week. So Katarana, thank you for making it here and achieving this incredible record. You will get no prize, you'll get no plaque, you will get nothing, but our admiration. So Katarana, how are you doing? Oh my God, Katarana, are you frozen? She.
What?
I don't know.
An intro.
Is her camera frozen?
Yeah, sir.
Yeah.
You're lagging heavy on my end.
You're lagging on our end.
Yeah.
Tis
Sorry, it's
correct.
not me, it's you.
Gotta get Bell 5, man.
Yeah,
Sounds
I
like
can
all
hear
of us.
everybody. Yeah, it seems, I don't know if everybody's having an issue, but like the StreamYard is frozen to shit for me.
It's just for you.
You're all good now.
Yeah, it's probably lag on your side.
Yeah. You were
Oh,
lagging a
okay.
bit yesterday
I'm so
too.
special. Okay. Yay. Okay. Well, that sounds
That's one
like
way
a
to see it.
problem. So, hello. I'm Katarana. Woohoo! 4 times in a week. I'm totally gonna fail my exams, and I will put Prime's fault on each and every one of them. I am a almost physicist, but the way Prime's going, no physicist. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Nice to be here. Second time on the Royale. Let's see how it goes. Woohoo!
Okay, for the record, Katarana literally begged me, come on. I'm like, don't you have something else to do with your life? She said, absolutely not. This is all I have going on. And so I'm like, all right, I mean, I guess. Ugh, you twist my arm.
For the DMs.
Yeah.
Leak them.
I'll have no problem doing that. But yeah.
Do it, you won't.
But thank you, Katarana, for making it back. All right. Agent 10, thanks for coming through. How are you doing today?
Doing good. Second time on Royale, feeling good. Everyone's favorite right-wing art student and professional shit poster in chat. Glad to be here.
That's all we need. Especially when you're shit posting against me, which I noticed you
Hell
do.
Yeah. All love.
Okay. No, and I appreciate it. All right. Next we have a past a past champion, Kill San, who he says he was robbed on last week, but I don't know. Robo Jack pretty much spanked the competition, so
I was absolutely robbed. That I know he's listening. That Judas motherfucker Hans, right? I hope you're enjoying your 3 pieces of silver, you cunt. Look, he's Australian. I can say that to him. Okay.
Hans is out on a date. Apparently, this is what he told me. He's out on a date. So no, he's not listening.
He's got a date with fucking these. I tell you what.
He's not on the date. He just doesn't like you.
Okay.
True.
All right. Well, that happened. Big deal. Thank you for coming through. Also, yeah, we have 4 people. Was on the all black everything last time. That just kind of happened. That was not planned. But big deal. Thank you for showing up.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm a Twitch streamer since like 1 hour ago. My name is BigDo_Overwatch. I play Overwatch and I also talk politics. You mainly just talk politics on Discord. I'm a P Science major /econ. Yeah, that's about it.
Oh, so you're a Twitch streamer now since 1 hour ago. Okay.
Yeah, like since like literally probably actually I lied. It's probably like 10 minutes ago. Legit. Like
Okay.
like yeah.
All right. So here, let me
Welcome.
get you some advice. All right. From a Twitch streamer who's been at this for a while. All right. So you don't want your camera like all the way the fuck out here. Like maybe like center yourself. Like you got like a lot of like maybe not this, but like this, like a normal human being. Try that.
I can't right now because I'm not wearing pants. Honest to God.
Do
You have
see
a-
my
you
We're
have
not
a-
asking
Good
you
job,
to
dude.
point your camera down to your crotch.
like, I don't know.
Well, wait, no,
Like,
no, it's
we,
not important.
We
You got a
want to
pool?
see your face.
You got a swimming pool? If you got a swimming pool, then you're good, homie.
It's all about the
Yeah.
hot tub streams.
Okay.
You
That's
need to
much
do it.
better.
Hey.
Well, we'll get you to lower it down of one day, but like this is much better. All right, we got an improvement here. All right, baby steps. All right. Okay. Thanks so much. We are going to get started right now. Oh, and I should probably explain the rules. Let's do that. So we'll have multiple rounds, and at the end of each round, right, so we'll give a topic. You guys will discuss the topic, be as interesting or as knowledgeable or whatever your strategy is, but you gotta get the audience to like you. So the audience here will vote at the end of each round for who they want to keep, which one they find the most popular, which one they love the most, right? Not who they want to throw out, but who they want to keep, right? Okay, and the lowest vote getters get eliminated by the highest vote getters. Okay, so they'll be the ones deciding who actually stays and who goes among the panelists here. All right, so that's how that works. Any questions? Good, because I wasn't going to answer anything. So we'll get started. Topic 1. Topic 1. It's been stated that an advantage of the U.S. political system is that it dampens the ability of politically extreme views to proliferate. Looking at the recent political history of the United States, do you think this is true? Other countries have systems that allow for a multitude of parties to exist. This gives a voice to many political perspectives, but is it worth potentially platforming extremists? Would it be more beneficial for the U.S. to keep its current structure? Okay, 45 minutes left on the clock. Go ahead.
So I did like a quick little bit of reading on this, other than I saw your post in the chat sent by Chow, and I also saw there were a couple of responses to it, like Ezro 2008. It doesn't seem to be the case that it changes much in terms of policy. Obviously, in part because you have, instead of having major political parties, which usually get their 51% and have a unified position, like what happens in the US, generally you have to create coalitions, and those coalitions push against each other. So one of the examples I would give here was in 2009, 2010. This is Australian politics, so hopefully this isn't a little bit too far from other people's thing. We have multiple parties because we have preference voting. Preference voting is very base, I'm sure everyone would agree, but we have multiple parties here, and one of the things that happened was we had actually trouble passing climate change policy because the Greens party would bloc policy, who is supposed to be in coalitions with the Labor Party being the centre-left party, because they didn't find it to be extreme enough. But they also couldn't get the independents on side if they went further left, like the Greens wanted, so they didn't end up passing anything, right? What ended up happening is it ends up being like a somewhat centralizing force, because of the way that you have to pass like certain types of legislation, and you actually have the more extreme parties block out, because you don't end up having these parties don't end up getting a majority, that 51%. They end up getting a, what's the word that's less than 50%, but still the biggest number, like what Hitler's party was.
Morality.
Plurality.
Minority
Thank you,
parties.
yes.
Or
Yeah, no, it's plurality. You have to. You're still the biggest party, but not 51%. So you end up having to create coalitions. This is one thing they're actually seeing in Israel right now. Is Israel just had their election, and Likud has had to create coalitions with other parties that don't end up allowing them to pass any policy. So you've actually had Israel at a policy standstill, which, in my opinion, has been somewhat of a good thing, considering Likud is like supporting the settlements and a whole bunch of other problematic shit. So I'd rather than not being able to do stuff. So it creates it doesn't seem like there's much of a difference in terms of voting patterns or being able to break a deadlock, and in fact creates more of a deadlock, which is a significant problem that I'm sure most Americans here would agree with the US system.
Sure, so
Yeah,
maybe it's not going to be
It seems
solving
like
the
they just fall
problems that
back
you
into
want
the
to be
two-party
solved.
system.
Yeah, it seems so, except what are the other characteristics that a proportional representation brings us? And Kaiosen, I'm kind of like really confused as to what that whole statement was about. Are you against it? Are you for it? I was kind of confused, but it seems like you're against it, going on about like
Not
Australia or
necessarily
Israel.
Not going on, so not necessarily against it. I'm just saying that it doesn't seem like there's much in terms of like between like a party versus multi-party. It doesn't seem like there's much functional difference.
so
Maybe so, but here are the differences. In a first past the post, it ignores the loser. There's wasted votes, consistently about 50%. Then there's the tyranny of the majority, which we've been seeing in the Electoral College in the United States. It's also easier to make policies that affect one group of people in a first past the post system, especially when you have legislatures that are dominated by those who maybe clinch 55% of the vote. Then there's the risk of gerrymandering. Then we have increased voter apathy and decreased involvement in politics because of first past the post. Then what does proportional representation do?
Was there
It
evidence
brings a
on
more
is there
collaborative
evidence on
approach to
vote?
policy setting.
So is there evidence on
And
voter
then
representation?
it also brings
Or-
out better social outcomes.
It's not 100%
For example,
time I
Canada was
want.
the top ranked OECD country on the UN Human Development Index. And in the last 20 years, it's been overtaken by 8 OECD countries. And they all
Is
use
there any
proportional
causation
voting.
on this, or is it just correlation? So like
Anyways,
a lot
there's
of,
also higher voter turnout. So in a 55-year study conducted by world-renowned political scientist Armenia Lippard, I've read a couple of articles by Lippard in class, he found that there was higher voter turnout by 7.5% in countries with proportional representation. Proportional representation may not be the hit-all solution to all of our problems when it comes to government and politics, but it certainly is better than first past the post.
so
there's so like there was a couple of points there that like obviously that was a bit gishy. One, is there any like was there any stuff when you mentioned like there was that these countries have better standards? Is this just like correlative? Is it just like like Canada and Australia and all these other countries have proportional voting, but that doesn't necessarily have to do with the voting system itself. Like we
Alright, so
understand
here's
that
the
one of the
thing.
fights in Canada has to do with getting rid of first past the post. But so what do you mean when you say these terms specifically? And
So
how much
here's
of
the
it is
thing.
actually trying to be causative?
On this one of Prime's shows. I forget which one. I think it was the Amazon Lily. There was a person who said that in social sciences, it is impossible to establish causation. We could only do a correlation. However,
No, that's not true
when
at all.
some correlation, yes, it is not true, and you have already we kind of already agree on this. And when something is correlated, that happens so often when there's repeated behavior, then we have to ask, hey, there's something up here. And there's something up here when Canada, being the number one on the UN Human Development Index, the number that judges all countries and their human rights, their development, all these good things that we want to see. Okay, countries want to be as high on the Human Development Index as possible. When Canada falls down and other countries that have proportional representation overtake that, there's something up.
So, Senpai, I'm sure I don't need to point out to you that just saying that, like, because X country has proportional voting and X country has higher standards, specifically when you're only pointing to, like, one country or two countries or three countries, right? That's not necessarily the position. 8 countries out of how many?
Of the OECD countries, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Do you know what the OECD stands for?
Yes,
Do you
I
know
understand
how
what
many
the
are?
OECD can for.
Okay, so 8's a lot.
Like
You would know that.
countries. It's 30-something countries, isn't it? From memory.
Yeah, so 8's a lot. Yeah,
It's
especially
37.
in the past 20 years. That's a
not
change in the past 20 years.
So,
Do you
like,
know how
usually
long it
so
takes in
one
order to
thing
make
I'd
some
point
political
out-
change?
So one thing I'd point out really quickly is, like, we understand there is actually the ability to see causation when it comes to political science, because we can see when things change in terms of things. So, like, for example, when we look at, like, I'm going to look at, like, economics as, like, a side, but that's also considered somewhat of a social science, especially when we're looking at policy. So when they don't, only because I looked at this yesterday, and it was brought up yesterday in terms of, like, when we looked at minimum wage, you can see one area, when most things are equal and one area changes minimum wage and one thing doesn't, you can see when change happens there. Obviously, you can look at, there's, like, it's hard to eliminate, like, do regressions and eliminate for all externalities, but we can see that when one area makes a change and one area doesn't, and that one area has that certain benefit, and we can see this repeated over and over, like you mentioned, but it has to be, that's where you can see the causation, is that when the policy is put in place and the number changes, right? That's why you can look at, like you mentioned before, the voter turnout and voter representation, right? So we could look at Australia's mandatory voting, and we can see that, like, turnout went up, I think it was like 7 points, and 3 points for left, like, that was a swing and left wing, right? Because we can see that when we put the policy in place, it caused something to happen, right? So obviously we would agree that, like, correlation isn't necessarily the best thing here. When we can look at when these voter trends happen, and especially when we look at, like, Canada, for example, like you mentioned, Canada has some level of proportional voting, but a lot of that is cultural. They have first past the post, right? And
Wait, yeah,
part of that is
Canada's not
because of-
proportional.
that's why. Why were you talking about proportional voting and then Canada then?
Fanatic.
Because
Okay,
okay, so what I'm
one second,
saying,
one second.
you're misunderstanding. What I'm saying is Canada has first past the post, and it used to be the number one on the Human Development Index. Then some 20 years happened, and it got overtaken by 8 other countries in the OECD.
Like, have we
that
not
happen
thought
to
about the
have
fact,
proportional representation?
like, a
Wait,
ton
wait,
of
So
those
let's go to
countries that are
Fanatic.
Yeah, really quickly, I think we're getting really, like, lost in the weeds about, like, provability, right? Some of these conversations, I think, they do boil down to, like, intuitive thinking, right? Because we're asking for opinions on these things. Like, some of these things we're not going to be able to find concrete data that absolutely proves anything. And I don't think that's what Senpai Chow was trying to do. What I think he's pointing out is that there does seem to be some correlative effects here, and so maybe these are things that we might consider. And then he's trying to, like, back up whatever his point is intuitively. And I think we can intuitively say that the idea of first past the post could have some negative impacts on people wanting to vote and things like that. I think that actually absolutely makes sense. I'm pretty sure every American here, every person in the audience right now can think of the idea that it's demotivating if you were wanting to vote for Bernie Sanders and you knew that once we got to a certain point, you just weren't going to be able to vote for him anymore. It starts getting a little bit problematic. Like the idea that we have such strong partisan coalition. Parties, like, that does seem somewhat problematic because at some point you're just like that's how you think it's like Donald Trump, where it's like, fine, he's
So-
the best Republican we
Okay,
got.
but
And I think
have
that's gross.
we
So
not
just a
thought-
quick, sorry, yeah,
Okay.
just a quick response to that. So, like, I didn't disagree with Chow's demotivational data because, like, it seems pretty recent. It's pretty easily, like, you're able to look at the data and say this was implemented here and here's where it is, and you can see it's not that big a deal, right? That one isn't a big deal, but there's, like, other things you can look at, right? Like, I like preference ranked choice voting. My country has it. Just having the ability to be more democratic is generally better, right? Like, my contention was, it doesn't seem when it comes to, like, policy or extremism or having these people represented, which was in the question, that it has to do with, like, that it doesn't seem to have much functional change in how extreme policy is or whatever, right? It doesn't seem like two parties create that thing, because you usually have, instead, you have the factions within the party. So, for example, we understand the Congressional Progressive Caucus, right, is the largest Democratic caucus, right? And they have a significant swing as opposed to being like a separate party, right? That's what we're talking about here. And
Right.
the thing
So
I'd say
that's
is,
a better argument.
in response to one last thing, in response to talking about like being demotivational in voting, you could just have mandatory voting, and we know mandatory voting is very good, right?
So just to
okay,
clarify
so-
here with regards to like the overall discussion, the first evidence point, all right, with regards to HDI would seem useful, excluding the fact that like HDI encompasses a bunch of things already, which doesn't necessarily need to like have anything to do with how democratic a country is, all right. But on top of it, all right, it also can pertain to things that like, hey, Canada is on the other side of the planet, all right, and didn't get bombed in World War II. And during this time period, all of these countries in Europe, while were developed at that time point, still had a long ways to go to continue to catch up to where the New World was at that time point. So it could just be that like they had their growth and development at a time period of which Canada was already relatively highly developed. Like and they eventually
I can flip that against
overtook
you. I can flip that against you, in that it's even better. It's an even a stronger, or it's even a more surprising feat that these countries were able to overtake Canada, especially when Canada wasn't the one that had to face the plight and destruction that was occurred in World War II across all these other countries.
What if like all of the factors that exist in these particular places, plus also having proportional representation, which I don't necessarily agree with the fact that like this can be applied in every single country in a manner which would be effective. I think that like each individual country has its own odd quirks with regards to politics. In the United States, like especially, I think has a lot of issues with regards to really broad coalitions and interests of differing groups of people. So if you force people to choose from two options, you are capable in most cases of probably getting more things done than having to like form like 50 million coalition governments with like the California version of the Democratic Party and then like the Washington version of the Democratic Party. Okay. And have this all go on across a country as broad and as vast as America, because in reality, America is basically the equivalent size of Europe.
Okay.
Compared to
All right.
Norway.
So you think it's just a coincidence, and you know what? Fine. I can't even argue against that. If that's you. But here's the thing, okay? So you're talking about how other countries, we can't really like export this or like
I'm
try
not
to
saying
apply
we,
this, but
we
guess
can't
what?
necessarily
It's
apply
already
it.
been
I'm
it's
saying
already
there might
been
be
done.
unique factors. There might
It's
be
already
unique
been done, okay?
externalities for
Over
America.
90 countries in the world use some form of proportional representation.
But
This
these
is
guys often have
most,
unitary
okay,
governments.
most democratic countries on this planet use proportional representation. Okay, first past the post is the minority.
I don't even think
80%
most
of
countries
all
are democracies.
OECD countries. No, well, actually, most countries are democracies. Absolutely,
Like democracies in the sense of
yes,
like democracies
yes.
that like
If you were to look
actually
at the
function.
data and see, okay, which countries are categorized as authoritarian or democratic, most countries are democratic. That is the trend that has been going on ever since the end of World War II. And 80% of OECD countries use proportional representation.
Okay.
So this is already being done.
That's not the relevant. The relevant point here is the fact that like
No, the relevant point is that your point is gone.
Yeah. Okay, but nothing you said actually like took away the fact that like there are externalities unique to America that would make it incredibly hard to have a proportional system. If you have regional interests, as exists in every country on the planet, okay, but when you have a country as big and as differing as America, when California, okay, might be literally more similar to Canada than it is to other parts of the United States itself, okay, and you have like these regions that all have their own weird political quirks, what might be best is a system of which forces people to coalesce around two parties instead of having, all right, 50 million choices, and all of which have to like hopefully, and that's the ideal, hopefully to come to build a coalition, which they can barely do today when we just have two parties.
Again, I'm flipping that. I'm gonna flip this against you in that, like.
Go
ahead, Joe. I've talked too much.
I know. So one of the things that I think is interesting about for Big Dude's claim, right, is that we understand that within like the Democrat Republican Party, right, they're two big tents. And one thing that kind of concerns me is that Democrats and Republicans, I think people dismiss this fact, which is they have extremist views on both sides of this. And then the question is how not only extremists, but I would argue also very unpopular. So how do we get these groups to side with a particular side? And I think that comes obviously with like different parts of the electorate. And something that I'm very curious on moving forward is like what within this conversation, right, is like what do we consider an extremist view, and when does an extremist view become public opinion, right? Because something that I would argue is that something like the emancipation of slavery and the citizenship of Black Americans, whether you are on the left or right, back when America was trying to be America, was an incredibly politically unpopular issue. And then the question is like, how did we get to a point when that, like, sort of the rubber hit the road? Like, when did that extremist idea, the emancipation of slavery, become a popular policy? Just as like, one example, right?
Well, I mean, like, typically when we say like something is like extremist, all right, it's not necessarily that it's unpopular. It's like that, like, it so significantly differs from like the mean or average, all right, of where like the population aligns, that like it's considered like odd or like.
But would you agree though that like the emancipation of slavery in the 1800s is an unpopular policy? Rather, 1700s,
depending on where you're at. That's the reality of it. Depending on where you're at, which is exactly why we probably shouldn't go into proportional representation.
Can you explain that a little bit? Can you explain a little bit further?
So the regions of America, the way they vote is incredibly different, just depending on like individual postal codes. So it is better in this case for things like such as getting the say the Civil Rights Act passed, that like we didn't have proportional representation, because then you'd have to like, instead of just working with like the individual sections of the parties that exist today, you now have to work with them, and they're all completely independent and don't necessarily have an interest in actually passing legislation.
Right, but I don't know, maybe you didn't engage with this. I'm gonna try again, and maybe I can be a bit more clear. I'm arguing here that not the citizenship and the personhood of Black Americans, in this case enslaved Africans, was not only extreme but also incredibly unpopular. So my question to you is, how did one, do you agree or disagree with that statement? And two, if you do agree, how did it end up being something?
Is it extreme? You need to look at like the opinions of individuals at that given time point pertaining to like.
Wait. Why would you look at the time, like Pew Research that that just. Why would you look at individuals instead of just looking at data?
That's what I'm saying. You would need to look at individuals. Like, and Pew Research is just an aggregation of individuals.
Okay,
I'd be really surprised if there was any large scale and reliable research being done that would indicate to us public opinion during the Civil War.
I don't know. Like, I'm saying, like, I'm sure this maybe perhaps exists, but like this is an incredibly hard question to answer.
I don't think it's really a hard question to answer, right? I would argue,
not in a good way. You can just make.
I would argue that. Wait, what? Come on, man! Stop being so fucking stupid, my dude. Like the personhood of Africans in the United States was an unpopular policy. This is why we had a continual compromise on that issue up until and including the 1960s. So if the personhood of Africans wasn't an unpopular policy, then why did it take a president through a presidential proclamation to even get to a point of progress?
Okay, but like this is just losing like a complete like all of the nuance with regards to like individual regions and for as to the levels of emancipation of these individuals that they were.
Yeah, there was one individual region. It was called
under like a broad banner.
They seceded. They waged a civil war against us.
Exactly. Like putting
that is the only region that you really need to look at.
Are you making an argument against federalism?
Let's go to Katrana, who had her hand up, and then we can go to Revolt Vise and Nacho, maybe if Nacho still wants to say something.
Yeah, so I hear there's this whole thing that like, okay, so perhaps like people in California are a lot more left than the rest of the country, but then in those cases, typically when we have a party who has some type of views that are only really applicable in one section, that becomes its own state party and doesn't become a federally recognized thing. I think that we still need to think that there are ideas outside of just being a neo-lib and a conservative that like proliferate in our landscape. And I shouldn't have to only have the choice of choosing between Biden and Trump. Like, I think definitely being seen by the fact that a lot of people took a vote for Biden, not as a vote for Biden, but a vote against Trump, shows that there's not enough diversity within our political landscape. And it's just not fair that we always have, a lot of people have to vote like this impassionately, like we have to just vote to do it because like we don't like the other option. I want to vote for somebody that I truly believe in their policies, not as someone that is just lesser of two evils. And I think giving people more opportunities to have different options in the federal landscape will at least allow us to actually be more politically involved as well. Because I would be interested to see, hey, is this party that I literally align with in most ways actually holding up to what I believe that they were going to do, rather than well, I guess it's better than the last party would have done.
So
Okay,
Sure.
okay,
So, like,
Democrats,
that's true to an
Democrats.
extent.
So one
That's
thing I'd
true
like to
to
say
an
in response to
extent.
that,
Okay, go ahead.
yeah. So one thing I'd like to say in response to that is you guys actually get like a way better. So I have preference voting in my country, right? You guys get a way more stronger control of who controls your country because you have the primary process and the president election, right? You already have this process. It's called the primaries. We don't even get that, right? We get preference choice voting for who our local representative is, and that's super sick, right? I really like it. But with that being said, the person who we choose to lead our parties, we don't get to choose. That gets chosen by the party. And that's how most of the parliamentary system works, right? The US president is very unique to the US in the way that you'll do it. I don't know if there's a more, like, outside of having like preference choice voting for the president, you're still going to have that same, like, what I mentioned at the start of this, like the difference between like having a majority and having a plurality. Those like Senate candidates are still going to win by the plurality, right? And it wouldn't change much in terms of like the way that the president goes. You have the chance to vote for Bernie. Everyone had the chance to vote for Bernie to make him the primary leader, right? And then it went down to those two.
Not everybody
my
had
God.
the chance. That's kind of part of the problem. Like we've got such like a hodgepodge system here. It's really ridiculous. I mean, it's hard to even like nail us down to one side or the other as far as like where we currently stand. But like, there's either the argument or like the argument that keeps getting made is an argument against federalism. I feel like is that what you guys are saying? Is that like it's tough that it's if the country's so big and so diverse and there's so many different wants and needs, right? That it's almost impossible to do anything
It's not
in
an
a
argument
uniformed way.
against federalism. It's about the fact that like what is good in a proportional system is or at least would probably be best is a country where like interests there aren't so many differing interests that like there would need to be a wide and broad and significant amount of coalition building to such an extent to where like things might not get done. Like we can see in countries like Belgium, they haven't had a government I believe for like long or at least like 4 years. Yep. These types of situations can be just avoided by like having first past the post and continuing what we've had, because it like essentially forces these differing parties that might be quote unquote extreme in the way that we define it to come and coalesce around what would be considered the center to avoid that. The individuals who are most extreme typically get pushed out of power, and the individuals who are closer to the center typically get pushed into power, because those are the people who are most likely to be able to pass legislation.
You're right. On average, that's true. One of the things that I point out, like that is a detriment of the system that we currently have, right? Is like it works in one effect to stop extremism from getting into place. But the problem was if you get extreme views or you get somebody who's trying to, or like a dishonest actor, I guess would be the best way to summarize. Like it also limits their response. Like it makes it very hard to like respond to like we just had a president that a lot of people saw as a tyrannical leader, and like there was like very little response that was possible. So like it's a double-edged sword is basically my point. And one of the other points is like you can have like 2-party system or 10-party system, and you have very limited amount of like Overton window, or you can have a really, really wide Overton window. And like that's one of the things that we really kind of ignore is the fact that the Republican Party and the Democratic Party share a very, very narrow space in the political spectrum, right? And so like I think that there's a lot of our problems with like a voter involvement, like civic engagement in general, would probably be resolved if we allowed for a much, much wider spectrum of views to exist in the political space. And currently we don't have that situation.
Yeah, a big dude. I feel like you just have a lot of misunderstandings about proportional representation. So, first of all, when it comes to federalism, and I can't believe that I'm doing this, but I am going to reference what Revolt Rise said before. Oh, what a rare moment, right? Is that federalism is the response when it comes to, it does solve the problem of focusing too much on federal politics and not enough on local politics. When we want to have local people figure out local issues, there's local government. And then when there's something as large as the country and just general politics, in that kind of case, it's more ideological. And then we could have those kinds of parties that may not necessarily be focusing on a region and are specifically part of a specific group of people, but the entire country and the people of that country.
I
And
agree.
then when it
But like,
comes
what
to
happens
and when it
in
comes to
reality?
this power,
Revolt, with your take, do you think that with what you described, that could have accelerated things such as LGBTQ plus rights, civil rights for Black Americans and ethnic minorities? Think that's something that could have helped to accelerate that?
I haven't
What you
offered
just
anything.
described.
I haven't offered anything prescriptive, but like descriptively, right? Like we know that there was a period of time in this country where we literally, and it's still to this day, technically, it's illegal to be a communist, for example. Like, you know what I mean? And we had like the quote unquote Red Scare. And so we've driven out this politics like of the country to be a very, very narrow like spectrum of like, you know, liberal democracy, pro-capitalism. And like, we don't have like we've essentially got to the limits of what that's capable of. Like we know what the problems that creates are, and we don't have any solutions for them. So like I you know, I'm not prescribing anything. I'm just saying that
Gotcha.
like this, to describing the situation as like why we have low voter turnout, low civic engagement, and basically like a feeling of helplessness amongst the people of the country. Like I feel like you could solve that by increasing education and talking about better solutions in a much more wider way.
Gotcha. Okay.
Let's go to Nacho and then Katrana.
Yeah, so I was just going to touch on it. Was sort of plays into like what Revolt was saying. Like I think that that's actually sort of a good thing that we don't have that it kind of pushes out those things. Like I think that's one of the things that our system does well. I guess it does keep the more extreme positions from becoming like mainstream. But I mean that's a fair point to make, that like slavery was basically the norm, and that to like be against it was the like more extreme view, I guess, back then. So it's like it's hard to say like maybe some of these some pieces of some of these more extreme like communism or whatever, maybe some pieces of those could be used. So maybe it could be better to have like, but it seems like coalitions basically end up doing the same thing that our system already does. So that's what I don't understand. Where I kind of get lost in like we're basically going to end up becoming the same thing, because this is what happens in Europe and across the EU. You have all these coalitions form, and you basically just still have the conservatives and the liberals. You still have the right and the left, and they just form coalitions with all these different varying parties, and they just get together and So I don't really understand what the difference is there. So that would be my main
Nacho,
thing.
can you phrase that a bit more directly?
So you're saying that there's like more political gridlock, right?
It would eventually just regress
in
to what
Western
we already have
system.
today.
I
Okay,
guess I'm
thank you,
saying
Nacho. But yeah,
No,
Nacho,
it'd be less.
can you try to like clarify that a bit more directly? I kind of lost you halfway through there.
Yeah, I was kind of trying to like touch on a lot of different things that everybody was saying.
Gotcha.
So, but so I guess I'm for, I guess, keeping it the same, I guess, because it doesn't really make sense to me why we would go through, and I don't really know how we would even go through. Like, I don't know what policies we would need to provide. I don't know what we would need to change. You know what I mean, about our current system to make it more, I guess, accepting to like multi parties.
I got an answer. I got an answer.
Do you
what I mean?
think I have an idea too?
Did I mute
Yeah.
again?
No,
Look,
you're
real
good,
quickly,
Fernando.
you're
I
not.
think okay, good. Yeah, so I think one of the answers when we start talking about proportional representation, specifically when it comes to the House, I think it makes a lot more sense, right? Because like you do have like your AOCs, right? And like she might be someone that's like particularly that has her views, but he is right now in the same party as the Democratic Party, and they probably agree on a lot more than they disagree at the end of the day. But you do need the ability to have that kind of representation, like specifically within the House and specifically within the Senate. I would see, or maybe not even the Senate, just within the House. It seems like maybe having some sort of proportional representation so that people's ideas can be there. It still will be stamped out by the majority, and if an idea is extreme enough, it shouldn't be voted for. But if an idea is quote unquote extreme and it can still garner enough votes, that means it must not be that extreme. So I feel like if we're going to be talking about democracy and leaving power to the people, the idea that we would have the ability for people to be able to win seats and stuff, and that we would have more diverse in the
Your
party
mic
that
cut
maybe
out.
we can get some more to we can.
Cut out.
You're just
No,
fixing
you're
it.
good.
No,
You're
you're
good. You're
good
good. You're good. And in this moment, I just quickly thank Eris. Thank you, Eris, for being so kind as to read the channel. 100 people. Hey, everyone, we're doing a game show type thing here, talking about whether we should be allowing third parties within the U.S. democratic system, and we're gonna be voting people out. Stick around, and we'd love to have you part of it. Audience will be able to vote, so stick around. Okay, go ahead, Fanatic.
Yeah, I think it would create a more like you would create a more diverse system so that like her ideas aren't necessarily viewed as fringe. And if they're too fringe, then they won't gain any power anyway. Because you're still going to need coalition building. And if you're an idea, if your idea is something that's so offensive or so egregious, then you're not going to be able to build coalitions. So I think the idea of proportional representation, like it we can obviously benefit from it when we recognize as United States, I mean as Americans, specifically within this country, how disengaged we are politically, how voter turnout is getting worse and worse and worse. Obviously during the pandemic it was like literally like record numbers, but that's because people had nothing else to do. That's why our riots were at record numbers and our protests were at record numbers. Niggas just needed something to do. But ultimately we can see how disengaged and demotivated everyone is politically. I think that
Fanatic, I have a
like
question for you, man.
So then, how would that change our voter turnout, though? Too.
Actually,
that
I have
would
a
be my
question.
follow-up.
I have a question for both you, Nacho, and Fanatic.
Okay.
I'm gonna propose a policy, and I want you to tell me if you feel like it's extreme, and if you feel like it's extreme, what you feel would be the path forward to make it less extreme. I want to have a second congressional convention. Sorry, constitutional convention.
I think that the thing is that like there are a whole lot of things that everybody wants, but like
Okay.
like,
So you, Nacho, or Fanatic?
Nah.
Okay, cool. So Nacho, Fanatic. So I want to hold a second constitutional convention. Would you consider that an extremist policy or an extremist idea?
Extremist sounds so harsh, but yeah, I would be a little bit wary of it. I think I love our Constitution. I feel like it's something that's pretty. I feel like I love our Constitution, and I feel like overall our Constitution. I mean, but we do have that specifically for like amendments and things, right? Like, so we already do. Like,
Sure,
have the
but I'm
ability for that.
talking a full constitutional convention. So I'm going to get 34 states. Do you think it's possible for me to get 44 states to be on board with this idea?
No.
Yeah, probably not.
What is
Do
a way
people
that
even know
you-
what a constitutional convention is and what it does?
The problem with the Constitutional Convention.
I was just based off of the words. I was trying to put it together, but I don't know specifically what it is. So yeah, maybe.
In my-
I feel like it would be really good for somebody to explain that.
The problem with the
I
Constitution.
mean, you led the charge, Chow, so go for it. What's a constitutional convention?
Awesome. So a constitutional convention is, as what you said, when 34 state governments, I'm pretty sure
At
it's
minimum,
a legislature.
2/3 majority.
At minimum, that's right. That's 2/3 majority. This is not Congress. This is the state governments, and they all want to get together and they want to rewrite the Constitution. It's not changes because changes go through amendments through Congress. This is a complete rewriting of the Constitution.
It does have to be a complete rewrite. Oh, God, that's.
It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. The problem is
It could be so like, and the reason why I'm
But it could be
proposing
pretty
this
big.
idea.
There's no
The reason why I'm
safety.
proposing this idea is these are my arguments. One, I think the language of the Constitution is a little bit too broad for proper interpretation. We can see this through different examples of Supreme Court decisions. I think modernizing the language would help the layman person, the average individual, understanding it a little bit slightly better. And I also would argue that it might even solve the problems that we're describing here, like voter participation and stuff like that. Maybe we can include something about voter representation, whether that be like compel voting and stuff like that. Again, these are just broad ideas.
So hold on, I gotta let in two other people. So Agent 10, then Katarana.
Yeah, so the problem here is extreme doesn't mean like anything bad. It's just out of the norm. So like, yeah, slavery, like abolishment back then and, Civil War times was extreme. It was the right position though. So was, 50 years ago, letting gay people marry, right? It was extreme, but it's still the correct decision, right? So for Joe's example, it would still be extreme, but, could be the right decision or could not be. Now, again, with the whole question of, this system, parliamentary system, for example, would be better than the one we have now. It's going to be the same result. I mean, you're going to have like people like AOC, go into a more progressive party, still going to align with the Democrats to get a majority. So, I mean, it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. Instead of, getting 51 seats in the Senate, you just need one big party with a plurality and get the smaller party to get the majority. It's going to be the same system no matter what in the end.
Can I please respond to this? Because like a lot of people are saying that it's going to be the same, but that's really not the case. Because when you have a bunch of people, say in Texas, who really align with the policies of AOC, but because when they vote, it gets thrown out because it's first past the post, they're not considered. So that's the thing about proportional representation, is that it really does account for everybody's vote. Everybody's vote really matters. It doesn't matter if where you're located and who your opponent is and whether your district or state or whatnot is more liberal or conservative. Your vote is going to get affected by the number of seats in the legislature.
I mean, by your logic, then why don't we just say fuck representation, just do direct democracy for everything?
Yeah,
this is more direct democracy.
Yeah, but like,
So-
why
well,
continue
that's
to have the
kinda- well,
representative?
agent,
But that's what you
agent.
want.
That's why I proposed the. Oh, sorry.
No. You know what? Finish your point, and then I'm going to go to Katarana.
Well, that was the reason why I had the idea of a constitutional convention, right? When we look at the power of the GOP, I would argue for the GOP, they have 26 states that voted for Donald Trump in the 2020 election. So I would argue that maybe it is possible to get, we're not talking about a lot of states to get on board. Like, if I would say one thing that the GOP does a little bit better than Democrats is coming together on certain issues. So I could totally see a possibility where 26 states want to have a second constitutional convention, and all they need is what, like 8 states, if I'm doing the math correctly, where they could get on board with that. Like Georgia is barely a red state, right? So like again, that's why I asked that, because like on its face, it might sound like a constitutional convention is an extreme policy, because it is an extreme policy. But I think in the practicality, I don't think it's actually that extreme.
Yeah,
So
I
let's
think
go.
it
Sorry,
actually would be.
hold on. Katarana, please.
Okay.
Yeah. So first, the whole question is whether or not two parties helps prevent extremism. So, like, it seems like what a lot of people are saying seems to be more of an electoral issue, and like the way that the voting system works, rather than the way that the party system works. Like, people in Texas still would want to go ahead and vote Democrat, so they can vote Democrat. It's just a problem with the fact that we use the Electoral College, why their vote doesn't get counted for, not because there's two parties. But I also want to push back on the whole idea that some people are saying that like it is helping curb extremism, because there is extremism. We as America will platform Richard Spencer, but we will not platform whoever the head of the Communist Party is of America. There is extremism. It just doesn't it doesn't get shifted equally on both ends of the spectrum. We will go ahead and have $1.99 fascist as president, but we will not have a communist as president. It's not because the Overton window is literally being compressed due to the fact that we have two parties. It's that we have a system that believes in extremism, just not for the left. So I think going ahead and having more, I'm sure, like there are like there are sock dems, but sock dems are not the equivalent of like what Trump is on the Republican Party. Or we have like AOC, but AOC saying I want $15 minimum wage is not the moral equivalent of going ahead and saying like there's rapists coming in all the time. So I think
but the left does have.
Yeah, the DSA has elected members, don't they?
Yeah, but also
like
too,
regardless,
like
like
the
the issue is like if you understand the fact that like the right is particularly susceptible to these types of like extremist rhetoric, going into a system of where you're going to like not have the Republican Party stringing the fucking monkeys on the train, you are just going to further give them power to run to whatever direction they want to, okay, without any sort of balancing factor. And it seems as if the Republicans are particularly good at just like being willing to kowtow for them. So if you have a situation where the Republicans end up forming a coalition with that government, presumably who's going to be guiding the policy is going to continue to be the Trump wing, but now they're actually an independent party. They don't need to have like some sort of Republican convention where there's like balancing voices or individuals from differing regions trying to contend with whether or not Trump is the direction for the party.
Smoking crack rocks if you think that there's any form of contention during these Republican conventions and people are actually saying like no.
Yeah, there's still more. There's still going to be more than like the other world.
Yes, because
Big
the
dude,
RNC
here's
is
the
just a
thing:
fucking
is that like
pillow
you're
fight and we all
trying
sing
to give us a
Kumbaya. What the
hypothetical.
fuck?
You're trying to give a hypothetical for the United States, but that is counterfactual. Okay, we can't imagine that. But what I can give you is what's
in what ways is
happening
it
in Germany.
counterfactual to presume that like these
What I
things could
can give
happen?
you what. Okay,
How is
so
a hypothetical can't be counterfactual?
either way, what I can give you though is what's happening in Germany, which that literally has a Nazi party, but the right-wing moderate party doesn't form a coalition with them. They have
Okay.
to form a
Are
coalition
we
with the
pretending
other
as
moderate.
if Trump supporters aren't like at 30% at least? Like
So where's the
diehard,
70%?
Don't do it,
doesn't
Big
matter
Dude.
what the hell you do. At
Don't
least
do
30% of
it.
the Republican
But you
Party
think 30%
is Trump
is-
supporters.
You think
Let's-
30% is really of one side? So that's 30% of 50%.
And then
So
Trump
that's
is
really
still of
that's
the
really like
Republican Party is
15%.
extremely popular.
15%.
Right, but
yeah.
Big Dude,
that'd
Big
be a
Dude, you
significant
also
party.
because
That
in
would
order
be
to form a
significant
coalition,
party in
you
any
have to reach
Westminster
past 50%.
If
That'd
there
be
was
Big Dude,
more
Big Dude, real
representation,
quick, one sec.
So
you
what are
would
you talking
easily
about?
have.
Big Dude, real
15% would
quick.
have massive leverage over policy.
Yeah, it does. It's huge.
Yeah, Big Dude, real quick. You do also understand.
When it comes to forming coalitions,
yelling at.
Yeah, when it comes to forming coalitions, so
Yeah.
sorry.
So something Big Dude to your because I'm kind of with you on this, but maybe not. Where we understand that there is a base of individuals that really loved Donald Trump. I would argue that Donald Trump is incredibly politically unpopular long term. So something that I think Republicans are trying to answer is how do we take the power of Donald Trump and weaponize it in such a way where we can cater to more people outside of this conservative electorate. Now, we're seeing this a little bit with the language of like the Ted Cruzes, the Matt Gaetz, not really the MTGs of the world. She's a little bit too close to Donald Trump, but because I do think that like what we'll see is maybe something that you might agree upon is where it's not really Trump on its face, but it has like everything in terms of like the sort of rhetorical tactics, rhetorical tools, but it's a bit
Even
more
talk like him nowadays.
yeah, it's a bit more precise, right? Where it's like we understand it's bullshit, but it's like better concrete bullshit.
Tom Cotton is a much better fascist than Trump could ever be. Like honestly, like is that the point you're making?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, maybe not amongst those words, but he's definitely like if he were to go like to run, right? I would be more like terrified, not really more terrified, but I'd be more terrified his ability to convey his rhetoric to the masses.
Yeah, and I mean my initial point I think stands for that even more so. It's that like okay, so if we get a guy like that, or there's somebody who comes into power and they want to make major changes, we have one branch of the government that's supposed to be balanced by two other branches that has significantly more power and effect and bully pulpit, right? So like that is a major detriment. But I don't think that we're going to see any advantage from diluting it into like I don't think the difference is going to be like how many little parties we have, like right. So like the main issue that we are going to run into over and over and over again is the fact that like there's no requirement at all that they do anything. Like I think that there's so much ability for the politicians to deflect and not take stances on stuff and just kind of like prolong their time in power. And it's just like we have like a corruption issue, I'd say, but like some people might not call that corruption. I think that like as a prescription for like fixing the issue that we have right now, it'd be more along the lines of something along the lines of like term limits, or yeah, exactly, or being able to like mandate that a certain amount of policy gets reviewed at least in a period of time, something like that, because right now they just don't do anything. And so as such, we're allowing people like Tom
represent the
Cotton
norm.
Like, this is why.
So like
The issue is that this doesn't represent the norm. This isn't what.
Please.
So like the one thing is like we've been sort of talking past the original topic, so I just want to sort of bring it.
Muted.
Your
We
mic
lost you,
just
man.
got-
Fucking God, I
Sounds
hate
like
this mic cable. Kill me.
Do you need me
Okay.
to send you an XLR cable?
I need to replace my mic cable. I've got one in the box next to me and I can't be bothered to get it out. Okay, it's a rat's nest in there. Fuck that shit. All right. Now,
Muted again.
no, kill me. Kill me.
I can't. That's illegal.
So the original
You
point that
wanna
I was going to
pass the
make was
baton?
that you actually see the actual point you'll see is that there's more extremist policies positioned in two-party systems because, like we've seen in 2016, once you're able to grab like the coalition in that party gets power and they set the agenda like Trump did when he was able to set the cabinet. You saw that position, that party move in a massively right-wing direction, like uncomfortably fascist to the point where you had a near fascist takeover on the 6th of January of the fucking of the parliament, right? Like the whole problem with multi-party democracies is a massive amount of gridlock and having to take because you only have 36% of the vote. You can't do shit on your own, right? So you barely ever pass policies. What you've noticed is a lot of these places have been stuck in the same place for a very long time in terms of like policy passing. Whereas like now you're seeing like now that Joe Biden has the all three forms of government, right? He's been able to smash through policy after policy after policy. And the only thing stopping him right now from doing more is doing it through the filibuster. And we can actually see that coalition, the fact that like the CPC has been such a massive part of the Dem party now and a massive part of the Dem voting base that a lot of people have been calling for further left policies, that Joe Biden has responded in kind and has gotten like pretty fucking far of center left, to be frank, right? In terms of like what he's been pushing through, the policies he's been proposing, right? Like it allows these more extreme parties to be able to grab on and hold and push and grab an entire fucking 51% and force them to go along with their position, as opposed to multi-party democracies where what you see is a massive amount of gridlock between these parties that have next to nothing in common, right? Instead of trying to create these forged alliances that have to like work together because you have that 51%, right? This is why like a lot of these other places have been stuck in gridlock as opposed to like what the US is doing. The problem with the US is it swings back and forth like a massive fucking pendulum, especially like what you've seen with the executive order. All right, sorry, someone.
Okay.
Yeah, Kel, do you think
that is the round? Thank you so much.
I feel so sorry. I was just hoping to let someone respond to me.
Oh no, sorry. Yeah.
Damn it, Kaya-san.
I just wanted
I'm
to
sorry.
get you back in at the very end, because yeah, I knew it was about to end. Okay, so Katarani, why is your hand up? Katarani,
Oh, I want to say
Is there-
something.
Is there a video
Am I
frozen
not-
again?
Am I not legally allowed to speak anymore?
Oh, I mean, you want to say something? I guess it's fine.
Okay, fine. So I'm gonna say my thing then.
Oh,
I was just gonna say that, like-
do it later. Hold on. Hey everyone. So we're gonna go into the voting round. We're gonna go into the voting round right now. So who you gonna be voting for? So again, how this works is that you're gonna be voting for the most popular person you want, right? The person you want to keep, not kick. Keep, not kick, right? So you're not gonna be voting for the person you don't you dislike here. Just whoever it is that's captured you. Who puts up a sign who demands that you vote for them. Yes, yeah, that's who you're gonna be voting for. So take the opportunity. We're gonna put the link in chat. Before I do that, if you came in with Eris's very, very kind raid previously, please hit the follow button, hit that notification bell so you know I'm going live. We do this 6 days a week. 6 days a week we give you this content. So if you're unfamiliar with this channel, if you're liking what you saw so far, hit that follow button right now. I don't want you to miss out. Before you click away, hit that follow button right now. Or if you just walked in from outside of Eris's thing, hit that follow button. We'd love to have you. Okay. So we're gonna go into voting, and we'll have 5 minutes to vote. The link is in chat. Don't fuck it up, guys. Like you only have 5 minutes. Once that 5 minutes is up, then whoever wins wins, and if your person doesn't win because you didn't vote, it's all on you. And yes, that's happened before. It's happened many times here. We've seen it a bunch of times. We've seen people because votes came in late, that person who would have otherwise been safe gets eliminated. It's happened a few times. Don't let it happen now. So vote right now. We have 5 minutes left on the clock. It's already up there. All right, Katarana, you gonna say something?
It was just a rebuttal, but hey, I guess it doesn't matter anymore because we're voting, so I don't think I can.
I'd still like to hear it.
No, of course it matters.
Oh,
In this
yeah.
5 minutes, okay, we're not
Okay,
really
well,
doing this for the
one thing, I
panel.
do
We're
wanna-
doing
I
this
do-
in order to have
yeah.
an intellectual conversation,
True.
right?
I do want to say one thing before we
I
do
ain't
though,
doing that
is
for
that
that
if I win this champ, right, two-time, I'll be eating spicy noodles. I'll eat it on Prime stream. All my trying to give a fuck, right? I've got these fucking Bulldog 3 fucking times noodles. I've eaten them before. I had one bite and threw the thing out because it was just hot, fucked, and unpleasant. If I win, I promise I will eat these noodles. Okay, they're fucked. It's gonna be good content though. Please, Katarana, I want to hear your response.
All right.
Okay,
I want to answer
first of
Joe too
all,
after Katarana.
this
That's
really-
so funny,
I'm-
but
I really have a feeling that these are like white boy noodles. And
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. White people.
They're
can't-
Korean. They're fucking Korean noodles. Like these are the
Okay.
step
Are you
down
sure
from
they're
the
not just
hottest
cracked
Korean
pepper?
noodles.
Okay,
Oh, I
anyways,
fucking
have
got
fun,
it.
have
Don't-
fun with your
Dude,
have fun
don't
with your
fall for
black
his
pepper noodles.
traps. This is a
Um,
trap. Say what you were gonna
yeah,
say,
yeah.
Katarana.
And then I was just gonna say, like, I don't really think you're like, oh, the pendulum like goes from like left to right, but like honestly, I feel like we go from like
Center
Reagan,
right.
yeah, Reagan to Clinton, and then Bush to Obama. Like it's really just goes from like, you know, fucking kind of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
conservative
So what I'd
to
say,
like
I
Can you
agree.
do that
but
sound
Clinton-
one more
Yeah.
No,
time?
I
So the
think okay,
response of
okay. So,
Clinton
so
was
I wanted to
Clinton
answer
was
Joe
very big
Lewis a little
deal.
bit.
Oh, I just want to say, like Clinton was like Reagan was like an enigma in American politics. Everyone had to follow in
Yeah, so
Reagan's
was Trump.
footsteps up until now.
Yeah, seriously, and
So
everybody
was
did.
Trump. But
Yeah, great.
But yeah,
But
so
do you
like
know how like
to answer Joe
conservatives
from like
hate their
way
meat to
earlier.
this guy. They love them some Reagan. Like everyone's just like, oh,
But
poor
those
black
who are
people."
alive,
Like,
yeah, but those who are alive, like
Carter.
who voted for Reagan, like I've talked to some of my neighbors in the area who are like Republican and stuff, and who have voted for Reagan. Like they treat it like the same way that people talk about Trump right now. Like they weren't voting necessarily for. I mean, they were voting more for Reagan then than Trump now. But like a lot of it is somebody mentioned this earlier. We're voting against the other side. We're not even voting for these people anymore. Like
Right.
you can argue that yeah, Trump has a pretty big base, like that are diehard Trumpers, but the majority of like his bigger base that he had were just people who didn't want to vote the other way. Like they didn't want to vote Biden. They thought that Antifa and Black Lives Matter and everybody is tearing down and burning the country, and that this is the only way to keep that from happening. So I mean that's a problem. Like I could agree with that. So that was going to be something that I was mentioning, like in my answer to like what Joe was asking, like of me and Fanatic, like should we have a second constitutional convention? Which I would probably say, yeah, to some degree, because maybe it would help. But I feel like you would want to get like almost all the states involved, like because yes, we could get a stricter interpretation of the Constitution, and you could kind of bypass like the clogged lanes of like our current system and maybe actually get some things done. But then go back to you know what I mean? It's like we'd have this moment where like, let's just ram some stuff through from both sides. Let's sit down. Let's hash this out. Let's try to figure out some things that we both want to get past, and then we can go back to
So I
the
just gotta
clogged
cut
system
in.
that we had
Everyone,
before.
guys, now's the time to vote. I see a lot of you guys chilling out with the voting, but you're gonna be pissed when the person you want to stick around doesn't stick around. Okay, now's the time. Jump on in. This is the moment. Jump right in. Vote for whoever
me.
you
I
find
got
the most
coffee.
interesting, the one you find the funniest, whatever it is your reasoning, vote for that person, or they will be up for elimination. So you're voting who you're gonna keep, not who you're gonna kick, who dislike the most. You're gonna vote
How
for
does
who
like
you
the
want
elimination
the
work?
most.
Is it
Now
like the
is
bottom
time.
two?
Yeah.
Depending on how this works out,
so,
I am going to be either against democracy or for democracy.
So vote right now, everyone. Vote right now. The link is in chat. If you wait, I'm telling you, you're gonna be heartbroken. Then you're gonna complain.
I mean,
oh well.
like,
I'm just kidding. I'll always love democracy.
Wouldn't this be like a prepared like this would pretty
oh my God,
like
please,
accurately represent
dude, I'm talking
what
right
America
now.
would be
Holy
in a
shit, dude, I'm
proportional
talking right
system,
now.
I
Please,
think. Like,
Is
please.
your microphone
Can
working?
you not hear me?
oh, no, he's not in
can't
StreamYard.
hear
He glitched
you.
out. He
He
glitched
literally
out.
can't hear you.
Yeah. Okay. So, oh fuck, what's going on?
Why are you not on Discord?
I'm really confused now.
So big dude, you left the call. You left like the stream
Did I?
proper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not streaming.
oh,
Yeah.
Can't hear me. Okay.
wait,
Anyway.
are you sure I'm not here?
100%.
Yeah, no
I
one can
only
see
see.
you.
Oh,
I only
yeah.
see
Jesus
3
Christ.
black people. We lost one.
Nice. Oh my, like I lose votes just because I
I
can't.
was
Sorry,
right
four-
about to
four
be
black
like, what
people.
three-
Oh, boy.
I was right about to say what 3 black people because I was like, oh, Prime doesn't count, but then
So.
then
Ooh,
yeah.
whoa.
So- No,
I said,
like, no,
I just said I saw
actually-
3
no,
black
no,
people.
no.
You're going
I
all like,
literally,
whoa,
like-
Prime's not.
No, I literally like
What?
forgot
Keeping
that Prime was
blackness now?
black because of all his One
Or
Piece
maybe this
stuff.
isn't something I
I'm
shouldn't
kidding.
be in.
Hate to see it.
Because of all this One
Okay.
Piece. What anime makes you white? Come on.
Okay. All right. So
I mean-
we're jumping into it. So I've already frozen the vote. So like if you voted afterwards, since that's your fault, not my problem, right?
There
So
you
we
go.
got big dude back. All right, great. So yeah, it's your problem, not my problem. If you hadn't voted out yet, like we had kind of a low vote count here, but it is what it is, right? So the top two vote getters tied. Kyosan and Joe Lewis. All right.
I didn't say shit.
Former, okay, all right, buddy. But former champions, all right, showing why they're the champs, why they're number.
I don't remember ever giving up my fucking crown. I'm still the current champion.
Okay.
It's a It's a belt, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So good work, you guys. Thank you so much. And the bottom three vote getters. Oh man, it sucks. All right. Starting from third from the bottom, that would be Big Do. Though I think he did see Big Do did talk a lot. See, apparently it doesn't matter because he actually did talk a lot. So, but he made it there. Then it comes Revolt Rise. Yep, Revolt Rise. Yep. Sorry, who also talked more. So I don't know what's going on there. And then,
I don't like this correlation here.
And then absolutely the least. I'm sorry, it's Agent 10. You didn't vote for yourself. Okay.
Neither did I, to be fair.
Okay. Yeah.
Same.
So okay. And which would have made a difference? Big Dude, did you vote for yourself?
Of course.
Okay.
I love myself. You gotta love yourself always.
Oh my God, mute yourself in StreamYard, then you'll be good. Okay. But so we'll go with that. So our top vote getters, Kyo-san and Joe Lewis. What'll happen is they're gonna vote. They're gonna vote for who of the bottom three leaves. So 2 people will be eliminated. 2 people eliminated among the bottom 3. And Kyo and Joe are going to DM me who they want to go. But before that happens, oh my God. No, you can't. You can't. Okay. All right. So, Joe, you can only. You've already done this before. You only can vote for one person. You can only vote for one person. And take a breath. Take a breath and wait for them to actually make their case as to why they shouldn't be eliminated.
Wait, did Joe already send through 2 votes?
He sent in 2 votes. But
you know what? I'm going to say right now. I trust Joe. I leave my vote in Joe's hands. He can take both the votes.
Wow.
What the hell?
Wait,
is this?
No. This is not fair because then everybody knows that it's Joe making the decision. The whole point is to be anonymous.
Fine.
No, the point is not.
No, it's not.
That's
not
literally
just
going to be Joe's decision. The point is to
because I specifically, I want to make sure Agent 10 is like DM me their preference, and I want to make sure it's the opposite of that.
Yeah, it's it has nothing to do. It has absolutely.
You see what's happening, Prime? There's white people conspiring to put all the responsibility on a black man.
A conspiracy needs 2 people, okay? And there's only one person who was doing anything wrong there, and the other guy told on himself.
I'm in on it. I'm trying to defend this.
There is no.
I'm just trying to go watch wrestling, man.
There is.
He wants to leave.
Oh God, God damn it. Look. All right. What's gonna happen is we're gonna follow the goddamn plan. All right. So, Joe, and then also Kyo will send me one name and one name only. I'll give it. If you send 2 names again, I will make you do it all over. All right. I'm not gonna move this car until you do as I say. God damn it.
I don't get
turn this car around.
Joe, you can just DM me your other vote, and I'll just put that through.
Okay, anyway, look, whatever, what do we got there? Big Dude, make your case as to why Kyo or Joe should not vote you off.
I mean, I feel as if I offered a rather balanced opinion, all right, between like the both of you, all right. I feel as if, in general, my analysis or assessment on it, all right, you guys both found agreeable in some manner, okay. As such, I see value in me continuing to be amendments here. 2, on top of it, like, I'm not a narco, whatever it is, so, like, no rad lib memes get to be a poster or whatever in the chat, so I don't see any other issues with that. So, just allow me on. That's it.
Okay, alright. Next, we will go to Revolt Rise. 30 seconds, why should we keep it?
Oh, because I'm going to get Joe Lewis for this, to be honest with you, if he doesn't vote for me. That's
This
why.
3-letter agency shit going on.
I'm going to get you, bro. I'm going to get you.
Okay, alright. Alright, so, right, so that's always work. Agent 10, good idea. Why should you be
My opinion was correct. Everything I said out of my mouth was good. Clearly, I don't know how I feel about holding these 2 with my faith. KO just wants to see my downfall, and I don't know about Joe Lewis. So, yeah.
Okay, alright, well then, it is what it is. Alright, so, Kill has already sent me his vote, so we're waiting on Joe. He'll send me one and only one goddamn name. While Joe's deliberating, I actually have another thing to ask of Joe.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
I have another thing to ask of Joe. Hey, Joe, there was a word you had said previously during that last topic. It's about freeing black African Americans from slavery, from bondage, right? Starts with E.
Yes.
Could you repeat that word for me?
Oh, fuck me in the asshole. I know what you're doing.
I heard it. I definitely heard it.
Wait, what? I'm so confused.
It's a suck my nuts. And that's what
Come on, give it another try. One more time.
elementary.
Are you shaming him for mispronouncing?
I'm not shaming anything. I only asked him to do it again. I was very.
Wait a minute.
E man C patient.
No.
Emancipation.
There we go. Okay, all right, there we go. All right,
God
fine.
damn it.
What?
You gonna hit me with elementary next?
Okay, all right.
A blessing in disguise?
We're gonna.
Joe, I'm just really curious. What did you used to pronounce emancipation as?
He said,
I don't know. I used to say elementary, so.
No, he was saying emancipation. Emancipation the entire goddamn time. It was driving me crazy.
Hey, masks are really important, especially during COVID.
It was quite adorable, Joe. Like a 10-year-old, attacking the word for the first time. Very adorable. But okay, so we're moving forward. The votes are in, and so I'll reveal the DMs. I don't give a shit. That's how we roll here. So Kyo-san voted for Agent 10. Agent 10. This will be the final roundup. I'm sorry, Agent 10. Agent 10. Tell the world about yourself.
Yeah, what's up, guys in chat, and gals? My name's Agent. I do some streaming shit on the side, full-time students. Here's my Twitter. I don't know, I meme on it. Yeah, this is fun.
Okay. Before you leave though, Agent 10, here's the thing. Our good friend Joe Lewis also voted to kick you off. So you got 2 votes rather than just 1 vote. But what that means, right, when 2 people vote for you, is that you get to pick which one of these motherfuckers goes out with you. All right. So you can drag them down like a zombie right into the grave with you. Now's your opportunity.
Destiny Bond.
So between Vote Rise and Big 2. So you guys can make a case. Why should Agent 10 not be spiteful towards you? All right. Vote Rise.
Because I'm gonna get Joe Lewis for you.
Okay. Big deal.
Affirmative action.
Okay, alright.
There's enough of us here. We don't need you.
Oh.
There's only like 3 here. There's only like 3 here.
It's not about equality.
See, you know what? I like that spirit.
It's not
So we're
preference.
going with Big 2.
Is there 3 black people and 5 white people? Is this,
I mean, I'm half
White
Mexican.
people-
I don't know.
Black.
Yeah, exactly.
If
White
you
people are
count Prime, it's actually mostly us. So
it's me and you, son. That's it.
Wait, I thought Prime wasn't counted.
Oh my.
I thought you were gatekeeping because of anime.
Oh boy.
I'll give it to him for the purpose of getting Big 2 off.
Be consistent, huh? I caught ya.
AG10, I'm trying to understand. Are you saying Big 2 is eliminated or Big 2 is staying?
He's gone.
Oh, he's gone. Oh, God. Brutal. He should have gone with the revenge route against someone that he hated.
I can't take down a fellow nigga. I just can't.
Oh, man. It is what it is then.
I can't.
All right. Well, Big 2, what are your parting words?
Fuck you. There you go. There you go.
Yeah, because
there you go.
that's how you're gonna get the vote.
Alright, well, Big Do and Agent 10's links are in chat, and Big Do apparently has just started streaming. So go over there, click that link, follow him, and, I don't get him to affiliate, right? Let's get this man to affiliate. So thank you,
All
Big Do, for coming through.
Yep.
You have a fantastic day.
Yeah, don't know.
Okay, alright, so, then, number 7. Okay, so moving forward. No, hold on. There's 8. No, no, 7. No, okay. All right. My math is off. All right. So next.
Math is hard.
No, all right. Next topic.
Yeah.
What? You want to say something?
I was gonna say our SAT score is like pretty shit between our English and our math abilities.
Okay. I know. Look. All right. Never mind. I'm just gonna hold that one. Okay. So, next topic. An ex-NFL player by the name of Philip Adams killed 5 people, including children, in a murder-suicide event. His corpse will now be tested for the degenerative brain condition CTE that is endemic among football players. Considering this and all the other incidences of violence and instability from players later found to have CTE, would you let your kid play football? Should the sport be banned or radically altered? Okay, so I'm definitely curious as what you all have to say on this one. We have 35 minutes left on the clock. Jump into it.
So first of all, my condolences. My condolences to Philip Adams and the victims of such a horrendous event. Second, very surprised that I'm still here after the resident sleeper. That was the first topic. I really appreciate it. Would like to talk more about it outside of this panel. I'd hope that Prime had learned his lesson, that inviting me onto these things would turn into a snooze fest. But this topic is way out of my expertise. So I did the smart thing. So I Googled health issues. And we all get aggressive at times. And what stops us from functioning is from doing these violent stuff is the prefrontal cortex. Something about the brain, okay? Which is likely to get damage from contact sports, such as football. But among NFL players, 40% of arrests for violent crimes is domestic abuse, compared to the estimated average of 21% nationally. But the overall arrest rates of NFL players are lower than the national average. Such correlations between head injuries and acts of violence have been tenuous and anecdotal. Still, this topic relates to many others. How do we feel about sending people to war who may suffer CTE, or how we feel about the legality of smoking tobacco with all of its negative health effects? It's ridiculous to have to suffer 2 concussions in a 3-game span, such as Philip Adams. But concussions tend to not lead to CTE. Would I let my kid play football? I think that's a decision for my theoretical kid. But I'm really curious as to what other people have to say.
Yeah, so what I was going to say was, under no circumstances would I ever allow my kid to play football, or boxing, or any of those like super duper high contact sports where they're like likely to receive all sorts of damage. I think what really makes you who you are is your brain, and the fact that you would be involved in something where there's like all of these insane risks is absolutely ridiculous. But while we recognize that all these people that get all of these like brain injuries and all those things, they do have these cases of violence. I also want to point out that football's has these insane rates of bankruptcy. I think it's like some absurd number retire. Or go file for bankruptcy within 5 years of retirement. It's absolutely absurd. There is a lot of brain damage happening there, but at the same time, I understand that adults have the right to make adult decisions. People get to do. We look at like air traffic controllers who have like a super duper low. I think the average person died within 10 years of retirement from air traffic controlling, and they forced retirement at 56. Sounds kind of scary. So we take risks like all the time, and I think allowing people to take those risks are absolutely that's part of American freedom. But do I think that I would ever allow my child to be in something like that? I think as parents, the conversation we had the other day on the panel was about basically us as parents, we have a responsibility to protect our children and to set them up for the most success. And football and boxing just ain't it. I would never in a billion years.
Katarana?
Yeah.
First of all, I just want to say that what Senpai said about the fact that NFL players have a lower rate of arrest than like the population. That's the dumbest shit I've heard all day. Thank you. First of all, we all know that people being arrested is socioeconomic, and if you're a professional football player, you don't have those socioeconomic issues. Obviously, there's other reasons why you get arrested, but of course they're going to have a lower rate of arrest, just like celebrities have a lower rate of arrest and billionaires have a lower rate of arrest. That was dumb as shit. Thank you. But outside of that, no, I wouldn't let my kids play football. I'd rather them do I understand that there's ways to go ahead and disperse your aggression, but I think there's ways to do it that aren't such a risk. I don't want to be like a satellite mom. I do believe it's okay to play sports. I don't want to put my kids inside like of a bubble, but I also do recognize that even you don't get to pro for it to have ramifications on your body. I have a couple of people in my classes that are on the rugby team, and they have to always like change their exam times due to having concussions and them not being able to remember anything from class for months. So I'd rather just not really subject my kid to, repetitively forgetting where the hell they are and how to do math and things like that. I'd rather them just do another way to let go of aggression.
Yeah,
I don't let kids play sports, including football. I have no problem with it.
Dude, my nephew,
Yes,
one of my
and
nephews, he ended
I'll
up doing. He did wrestling, and he went into wrestling, and then he got one of the most complex
Wrestling's
fractures in
based.
his leg. It was OD. Like, so by the time it was done, like it literally snapped his leg. There were there was like there was a possibility that his leg would never grow anymore. It was absolutely like terrifying. And my brother always
what
had the
age?
mentality. He was in high school. It was his sophomore year, so I'm gonna guess around
Jeez.
15. But it did grow. It did heal properly. Thank God. Everything is great. But
That's
the
good.
fact was, my brother was always like, I don't want you in these kind of sports. Play basketball. Play like low contact sports. I don't want you doing anything where you can like have these risks. And then that was his nightmare, and his nightmare actually happened. And I looked at it and I was like, I mean,
Dude.
it sucks that there's just plenty of time where you can just tell your kid, look, there are better things for you to do. Like discourage them from doing it and encourage them to do something else. I don't want
Just
my kid
that-
getting injured.
Basketball is a pretty high CTE sport as well, to be clear.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is it?
Wrestling, I would say wrestling is much more safer than basketball, but that's
Wrestling
just
is safer
my
than basketball in
anecdotal.
percentages, yeah.
Soccer.
I played both of them in
All
high school,
right,
but
guys, we don't even need
In
to be in
terms
this
of
debate.
CTE,
When we
in terms
of
have a
CTE,
sport in which people are literally wearing helmets and like pseudo body armor and running into each other, I don't know, guys, how fast, but it's as fast as possible because they need to be as strong as possible. We can easily tell the difference, make the distinction between the contact that is from football and the contact that is happening from basketball.
No, but
No,
you
but
gotta
basketball has-
understand.
yeah, that wasn't
hold
even
on,
a-
hold on.
So-
All right, so we got some people who've never played sports in their lives, and they probably never done a lot of things. So I'm going to make this very clear. There's risk in every single sport, and it's up to the parents to make sure they're as educated as possible when approaching that sport with their child. There's a lot of problems that come with sports like pitching within baseball, where the level of damage that you can do to your arm is incredibly severe, which is why a lot of times not even a lot of times, just generally speaking, there are things like pitch limits. No different in golf, where there's swing limits. There are limits in these activities because of the potential risk factors that they have on children. And those restrictions exist. The problem is, and it's always has been, and Fanatic and I are part of the the millennial/boomer generation understand this, is that the NFL in the 90s is totally different than the NFL in the 2000s, which is totally different in the 2010s, which is different to now. I would argue now is probably the safest time to ever play football in sports history, period. However, one of the problems is you will have coaches and athletic staffs who push students and the student athletes to do things that might be detrimental to their health when it comes to self-reporting of injuries, and then also players just playing through injuries and using things like different types of performance enhancers to follow through with those injuries. Robert Gronkowski is a fantastic example of an individual who struggles from those very issues I'm describing here. Again, the biggest thing is, I think if we are to have children who are going into sports and they want to do a particular sport, I think we should educate them not only of the benefits of playing that sport, but also the risk factors. I don't think it's a very unfair thing for anyone to do.
I
Now-
just don't think it makes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
when I went to
Sorry.
play football, my mom did that with me, Joe. So she sat me down and did all that. I stopped playing for different reasons, but I mean that was a factor, I guess.
So let's go to Revolt Rise, Kyosan, Karana.
I just don't think it makes sense for like high schools, especially here in Texas. It's like football is such a huge thing, right? Like there's a school near me built an $80 million football stadium for their high school football team. And like that same school lost accreditation the following year because it didn't have enough textbooks for all the kids. And like, that's just insane to me. But like the idea that like if you play 4 years of high school football and 4 years of college football, you're in the high 80s or higher % chance of having CTE. Like the fact that we're literally maiming people like for sports is just absolutely barbaric. I think it's insane that you would allow a child like in their formative years to play peewee football or like play football like once you get into contact, like because they are just guaranteed to have bad outcomes. There's no real good outcome that can come from it as far as your brain's concerned. So like, why are we doing that?
Sure.
Yeah, and also Kyo-san, you were wrong. You were just absolutely wrong. There are more concussions and CTE prevalent in wrestling than basketball. Basketball is like one of the lowest.
So which
study
That was-
study are you
that-
looking at?
That was me that said that, I think.
No, he said that. Kyo-san, I remember.
So
Oh,
the
okay.
thing I said was I was looking at a
It's
so
at
I was
about
looking
zero.
at
It's at about 0.13 as opposed to wrestling. They're pretty similar in rate, but basketball is at absolutely one of the lowest. I just looked it up on Google.
Okay, so I
Well,
also looked at.
0.13
So I was
versus
looking at 2.
0.17.
So I looked at 2. Wait, is my mic not working? I looked at like 2 separate ones. One was on a study of all brains. So it had like a selection of brains, and within that, I just said it was higher. In this study, it was higher. So they had of a selection of brains. 92 subjects from basketball, which made up 5% of the brains studied, had CTE, and 2.6, which were 39 subjects, had CTE from wrestling. This is I can link that one. It was the Medical Express reports, I think. So that
Keo,
was.
what was the
I don't think
sample
it's that much. It's the sample size was something like 500, 600. It's not huge, and the other one had like broader ones as well. The occurrence rate, you even said it's like I don't think this isn't like a sticking point for me. I don't particularly mind. I'm just saying that it's like I was just saying that it's like still a dangerous sport in terms of CTE, right? Like I wouldn't.
Yeah.
0.15 out of 1,000 people, and it's literally the least occurrent of the least occurrent of all injuries associated with basketball. It's not very common at all. It's very, very uncommon.
But this is why I laid out that there are different health risks for every single sport. For basketball players,
and
one of the
there's
most
other
common
studies.
one of the common injuries among basketball players are things involving their knees and ankles. When it comes to golfing, one of the common injuries is lower back, and then I forget what the tendon is underneath on your swinging side. For pitchers, it's basically your entire, just all of your pitching arm, like every sport, and even activities within the NFL, within football, have different risk factors. And the thing is, what I think is important is making sure that when, like, we're not going to get rid of football in the United States, like no cap, but what we can do is
Football's
make
based.
better preventative measures for individuals. This is why,
but we don't know if there might not be a limit, though, is the point. So like basketball is dangerous, they're finding, because of like repeatedly landing from having jumped, right? So like jumping and landing, that concussion, even though it's not giving you a concussion, it's not actually causing brain damage that's measurable. It's a cumulative effect over the lifetime. Like they found the same thing in special forces, the guys that are door kickers, that they go in, they've got like flashbang grenades going off near them all the time during their training. They're firing lots of rounds, and like those small little jolts are all adding up to find that they've got these like major brain problems later on.
And also I want to say that, like, one last thing. Really quick. I was just gonna say, not all injuries are created equally. Well, I recognize, like, yes, in basketball, people can get things like leg injuries, knee injuries, and all of those things. Like, that's great. Like, and it happens, and it's terrible. But those people can still, like, you can still very much function, you can still assimilate in society and function very, very well. But when you start talking about brain injuries, then again, your brain is such an important thing. It is who you are. So like once that starts going and you start becoming more aggressive, or you start having bad regulatory problems, and that's, I think, a much, much, much bigger issue. I'd much rather my kid literally get his leg chopped off than to give my kid like permanent brain damage where he's not functioning out of maybe his right lobe. You know what I mean?
Well, if you're going to the situation,
we gotta let Katarana in first. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I also want to go ahead and add like the caveat for when I say that I wouldn't let like my kids play sports, that I'm not like, or sorry, play football, that I'm not saying like they're not allowed to like dick around with their friends in a park. I'm just like once it's past high school, like I don't want them really doing it anymore. Once it's to like college level, I don't want my kids going and playing college ball for a plethora of reasons. I would even want my kids to play college sports because essentially like, yay, slave labor, very nice, very nice. But yeah, but like NFL, any of that, like it's just, I don't think sure, it's fun, and I'm sure that perhaps there is a way to go ahead and mitigate it to eventually end up having the science come along far enough that we're able to develop helmets and stuff that can actually mitigate some of these issues, actually absorb the shock properly. But in its current state, I don't think it's a good enough compromise just going around saying, well, like, my kid had fun, got to shoot the shit for 10 years. Now, they're retiring at 35, and I have to put on a diaper for them. and it's great.
But that's
I'm
not
having
really
it.
again, like we got to understand that the NFL is taking this seriously. Now, did it take until
Yeah, I think they're taking it
2019?
seriously. Like the cigarette industry took it
Right,
seriously.
exactly. Like, are they taking it seriously at a level that you can consider like sufficient? I would say no, but again, it's still significantly better. The one thing that has caught up with head injuries in the NFL are the rules. However, even when we look at the most common injuries of players in the NFL, it's still knee and leg injuries. Concussions is still ranked second or third. There was an uptick, and I think it was 2019 or 18 in terms of concussions, but they also made a huge effort in terms of reporting that better, and then actually having like concussion protocols. So we may not even see what that proper representation is, because currently on its face it's knee injuries, but maybe it is concussions, and maybe because of the proper reporting and better concussion protocols, we might see a difference so that they can actually get forced into certain changes of their concussion policy.
Simply not being the highest doesn't mean that it's okay. Like, these numbers are still pretty freaking high. 10% of all contact sport. I mean, in football, brain injuries account for 65 to 95% of all fatalities. It's still pretty freaking high. Like, it's still occurring.
Wait, fatalities. But what's the percent of fatalities that are occurring? You see, that's the thing about percentages, is that we have to be really careful about
what I was saying.
Listen, you're not gonna convince me otherwise.
Ranking it, saying that it's third or fourth, doesn't say anything unless we have the relative number to its rate of occurrence. Of
course,
and I think, and I think that's what's important. So until we have that, like, that's not really saying.
Right. Well, I'm saying here that the attention. Right, but I'm saying here the.
Sorry.
You know, like what I'm trying to get, I guess I'll make it a bit more clear, is that currently the leading injury is within the legs and the knees. So the rules reflect that. So there is protection of those places because of significant harm that it can cause. Something that I'm optimistic about is because of the better reporting within the NFL all the way to the collegiate level down, is that when we see better reporting of this within the NFL, they can make more responsible decisions, and then they can also be forced into making better decisions because they can't hide this problem anymore. One of the biggest problems was when it came to head injuries in the 2000s and the 90s was that they weren't reporting this and powering through in terms of injuries and just not reporting in the first place.
I can hear. That's all that matters.
Whatever.
So I'm not very invested in this debate, but I kind of just want to play poorly a devil's advocate. So then for those people, and I believe it's Fnatic, Katarina, and Revolt Rise, who are against making your children or who are against letting your children play these kinds of contact sports, what if I told you that those were resolved? Okay, in a couple of years, what Joe Lewis has been talking about, they got better, and there's very, very little head injuries. There's very, very little of brain damage, things like that. Would you change your mind?
Well, that's the whole point of contention. Exactly. Right. If my kids don't have CTE, then they can go and fuck around. I'm just trying to make sure my kids know how to fucking add an equation together.
Wait, so let's make this a bit more realistic. Let's make this incredibly realistic.
I just want to point out something really quick.
Go for it.
In 2018, there were still 224 reported concussions, and here's the insane thing that you were talking about.
That's not an answer to my question, but okay.
Hold on. This is the thing. This is one of the crazy points here, is that I'm pretty sure you would agree here that these concussions go underreported. So the fact that there are still 224 in a single year, that's a lot. That's enough for consideration and concern, such that I would probably say still no. Now, yes, will it get better? Sure, but is it still going to be happening pretty frequently? I'm going to imagine in such a contact sport, on top of all the other injuries. Yeah, no, this sounds like something I probably would discourage my kid from.
Let's go to.
But I'm saying that,
like, not allow them.
Let's open Kyo, please.
Yeah.
So, like, one of the things I think that's like really interesting that I looked into before we started this was I thought I'd look and see how things compare, because in Australia, right, we don't play gridiron, is what we call your sport, right? Although I do follow, I'm aware of it, right? We play rugby league here, and specifically like a lot of rugby union as well, and what we call Australian rules football. So we play like 3 different codes here mostly, and none of those sports wear any headgear or shoulder gear, right? And it's commonly said amongst Australians like, oh, we don't get anywhere near as bad as the Americans. It seems like a truism, so I thought I'd look into it because they wear headgear and protective gear, they tend to go that bit harder because they know they've got that thing protecting them, right? And I looked into it, it's completely opposite, right? You've got like a massive amount of PPE on. It turns out that Australian rules football has, I think, CTE rates at something like 7.8, 7.9%, which is incredibly high in comparison to like even the worst ranking sport on the complete concussion management. Men's rugby play has like 3%, and that's over American football at 2.5. Like Australian rules has it at 7.6. Right, and these are dudes who are like jumping up and like kneeing each other in the head. So we can look at it from like a hierarchy of control thing. How safe can we make these sports? Right? Can we add PPE in this case, like wearing helmet, wearing shoulder pads to reduce the rates? It seems like yes, and that PPE could get better. But like Mr. Fanatic mentioned before, we've got kids with fucking developing brains running at each other at high speed, right? With frontal lobes that haven't properly formed yet, which are responsible for the decisions that people make, right? And we can already see, like was mentioned before, this is why like I appreciate that we should be talking about like knee and arm and elbow rates and stuff like this, right? But the scary thing is about CTE is this is people's fucking brains, and especially with children, right? So if we can somehow find like substitutes for these sports or somehow PPE them up to the point where it's not anywhere near as much of a factor, because like we can see in other sports that there is a concern that this still goes up, right? But once you get past, say, like the 1% problem, right, which is what Mr. Fanatic, when we were looking at the basketball and wrestling before, it was comparable. Now we're incredibly low, right, in terms of CTE. When it comes to kids, is worrying about the brains, like the ones that are still fucking developing. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Like one of the things that I advocate for is the complete banning of head contact from college down. So what that looks like is you create a culture, which is slowly starting. Like to make it clear, in some states, Pee-wee, like for example, in New Jersey, is completely banned. Head contact from the age, I think it's like 13 under, is just banned. I forget what the exact law is, so in post I'll put some stuff in VC chat to clarify. But what that looks like is you're taking this thing out of people's rep. And then what happens is, hopefully, the hope is that once you take this out of the core of how these players play this game, it's not incentivized to change how it is in the NFL. Because like one of the things that really concerns me is that and this was the biggest problem that happened in the 2000s, was that the helmet was used as a weapon. And this is seeing a bunch of players who abuse that. One of the reasons why Antonio Brown had the helmet that he did, and he never really alluded to this, but Big Ben's a fucking cuckboy, and he talked about it on his radio because he can't shut the fuck up, is that the reason why he liked that helmet is because it had weighted sides on the edges of it. So while on one hand it had a better protection on the sides, but the sides of it were just straight up metal. So what he would do is just literally just ram the edge of his helmet onto other cornerbacks, and that would essentially just ring their bells, so he would have some types of advantages. Now, one of the problems is that when they finally said like, "Hey, Antonio, you can't use this helmet anymore," he freaked the fuck out because he's like, "That's my helmet. It's a helmet I've always known." And it's like, hang on, your helmet hasn't been up to code for almost 15 years, and you just got away with it. So something that I think they could do from the college level down is better penalties when it comes to head injuries, better the improvement of helmets, generally speaking, across all parts of the position, right? No exceptions of your helmet requirement because you're a kicker. No helmet exceptions if you're a punter. Just universalize that shit, because like as a punter knows, like although you are incredibly protected, like you should still have the equal amount of protection that other parts of the position have. So I think decentivizing the use of the helmet as a weapon, using your head as a weapon, I think is the way to go. And you can do that by banning any type of head-to-head contact or head-to-body contact, which is something that you can even just like train out in terms of technique. It's going to take a while.
Yeah.
But
the other side of the thing, sorry.
There's a BU study, right, that found that 99% of football players had CTE, right? So the idea that like we're willing to even talk about or entertain risking this without one, knowing more, and two, like knowing if it's even possible to mitigate the risk, like having better helmet technology surely makes some effect, right? Like the less you bang bruise your brain, the better that is. But like we still don't know what the cumulative effects of much smaller hits are, and I don't know if there's any way that you can ever make it safe, right?
Yeah, and
Revolt, you sent me that, by the way, and actually, just send it to everybody and people's chat.
It's in the VC chat, and I'll put it in the chat here too.
Yeah,
Just like
and
a
that's,
note,
and that's like
like-
another, and that's even
Sorry.
another side thing, right? Because even within the MMA, like something that they're slowly coming to terms with, because again, like the MMA is another example of a professional sport, and also WWE that is like poorly researched because of the people in power, is that they don't do the proper research of the injuries that happen to their, in this case, you'll call them their actors. We're talking about WWE, but then they're athletes within MMA. So things like contact
Wait, you think
injuries.
wrestling is fake?
The okay, so wrestling is staged up until like the result going in there, right? So the rest, just so that people understand about like WWE and wrestling generally
Don't get
speaking,
too far back
is
into
that-
this. Come on, we got it because we got to.
Yeah, my bad.
Right, no, but this is important, right? Like the result is 100% staged. So when Sasha Banks goes into a fight with anybody, she knows the outcome of that fight. She knows that going in there. Everything else in there is free reign, and their job is to make sure that both of them are protected. One of the things that happens is that even though you're making every possible effort to protect the person you are in a wrestling match with, you could end up with injuries that are just one, incredibly dangerous, or could even just put people into positions of being in danger. And that's something that the WWE just did not really do a proper job
Up until Benoit, yeah.
Yeah, like, not like they just didn't give a shit. But then like you had like an influx of the new wrestlers of like, hey, like we need things like healthcare, and we also need things like research of our injuries.
Moving along because the people waiting.
All right,
hold
then-
on. Katana had her hand up, and then we'll go to Kyo, then Senpai.
I just think that there's like a little bit of like a speculative, whatever word. There's some speculation going on right now about the ability to go ahead and mitigate the the damage that you face. Especially at one point, if you got in a car crash, you're 100% dead. But now we have all these different types of safeguards, and I just don't really think that anyone on this panel has like the background and impulse and momentum and how to mitigate forces enough to make that type of speculation that it's not possible. So like just be wary.
Not
of
possible
that.
for what exactly?
It's for you to go ahead and eventually mitigate the risk of contact sports. Obviously, as long as you're touching someone, you're not going to be able to go ahead and play like hamster ball football. So it's always going to have some level of risk. But I think also like it is maybe going to be eventually possible to implement.
But
some form of technology to make it.
everything that we do has a level of risk. Like one of the things that's happening in the DCI community is just the acknowledgement of, hey, we have musicians across multiple decades that have not been protecting their ears, and now they're self-reporting in their 20s of hearing loss that is in comparison to the elderly. And then one of the things that DCI did, like, oh fuck, we are absolutely fucked because nobody within this profession is using any type of ear protection outside of the drum line. So what they're now realizing is like, okay, we have to research the disadvantages and the pitfalls that come of lack of hearing protection, because one of the things that's rampant in DCI is a lack of hearing protection. And the excuse that a lot of musicians make is that, oh, well, I can't hear the people around me. And it's like, sure, but if you're on the field, you shouldn't be listening to other people in the ensemble in the first place. So like my point is here is that we can have better safety procedures within all of these sports.
Okay, Kyo, and then Senpai.
So quick note on. Okay, cool. So when we're talking about like, I think like the most important part of this discussion is talking about like children. Like obviously like professional level sports, these things are going to happen. These people also have like some of the best like doctors to help them deal with it, to catch it early, and then it's usually in these areas best interest, right? But when we're talking about kids, right, we also understand that having these like team sports or even like individual sports, like you mentioned wrestling, like any kind of like combat sport or like working in a team, like with football or basketball or whatever you play, right? Like there are these risks, but you've got to understand for these kids, there's also a big benefit as well, right? Especially these more like athletic kids, like keeping like helping keep fit, working as a part of a team, helping to develop these like healthy attitudes, right? These are things as like parents
keeping us out of trouble.
Yeah, exactly, right. Because like you're doing stuff and you're working like as a part of a community, and you like create friends that you have for life. Like I did rugby when I grew up. Now in retrospect, it had like some of the highest CT rates, and I was putting myself at an immense amount of risk for a stupid amount, right? But I gained a lot of friends that I've had for like life, for example, right? And I've learned a lot about that and learned a lot from that, in terms of like interacting with other people and all these other like small things that, like kids need that you don't just necessarily get from at school or at home. right? Especially when it comes to like certain combat sports. I probably wouldn't advocate for kids to go in there and beat the shit out of each other, right? But a kid learning how to defend themselves isn't necessarily the worst part, and it can help instill like a certain level of confidence.
Okay. Go ahead, Senpai, then Fnatic.
Yeah, Joe, this is only fair for me to do this to you because I've done this to other people on this panel. Are you arguing for this mainly because it is your love for football, or is it because it is your parenting style to give that sort of choice to your child?
I'm just I'll tell you my take then, so it's incredibly clear. If my child comes to me and says, I want to play football, I will support that decision. If they come to me and say, hey, I want to join and be a ballet and do ballet, that's a decision. I'll support that. As a parent, I will support that, but I'll also make incredibly clear what the potential pros and cons of that sport exists in, and make sure that they understand that to the best of their ability, even as a child. Because one of the problems is for parents at large, in my opinion, because I see this especially in sports, is that parents are in support of what their child is doing without any further education on what happens and what in terms of the child. What that looks like is when you have a child who sees an injury, like I did when I played football, and then every coach was like, you gotta this injury is not that bad, this injury is not that bad, this injury is not that bad. And my mother's like, hang on. Like, we did the research. I listened to the doctors. I understand that this injury is severe, and my child should not go forward with that. So, like, as an example, if my child got into a severe injury in whatever activity that they did, I would probably make the decision to pull them out.
Okay.
Okay. Wait, because this is only fair for me to do this to Joe because this is what Joe did to me last time we talked.
Well, you had a stupid fucking study, and I challenged you on it. And then when Maddie clarified in a nicer way, you backpedaled. Well, let's go. What you got?
No, she didn't clarify.
What you got?
What you got? I still disagreed with you. Okay.
Let's go.
Here's the thing. Okay. Would you allow your children to go to war?
Yes, of course.
Okay. All right.
I support their decision.
Okay. All right. Fnatic.
Easy.
You can laugh. You can laugh at that. You can laugh at that.
You did
again as if my child comes to me, if my child comes to me with
I just want some clarification. Okay.
I'm not going to let him weasel out of it. I'm not going to let him weasel out of this. There's nothing interesting.
Hold on. Please stop. Come on. We have a little bit of time left, so I want to make sure Fnatic gets in.
Okay, yeah. So it's not too big of a deal, but like, Kill, you just say a bunch of stuff, like you're talking really fast. I think you really got to analyze the thing that you're saying. Like you're pointing out like that they have the best doctors, so they have the best like things to deal with it. But in reality, they don't. Like they have financial advisors too in the NFL, but they're all still like filing for bankruptcy. Like the majority of them. This data that I'm looking at, which is just absolutely alarming, still is talking about the fact that they have like a 99% within NFL players, 99% of CTE rate. That's really, really bad. And
what's the difference?
And I'm gonna finish. And it also talks about the fact that the problem with CTE is not just some of the things that we've already known, that they're seeing higher rates of depression, and on all of these other things that they weren't even looking at, even in mild examples of CTE. So these things are really, really greatly harming these individuals. And I would think as Americans and just as human beings, the idea that we're going to let people bludgeon themselves and damage themselves, their brains for sport, which seems like it's not even really improving the lives of these people, considering they're all filing for bankruptcy and they have all these other problems and like higher rates of death and all these other problems. It just sounds absolutely ridiculous to me. Then the other thing you were talking about is like you mentioned something about like, oh man, I got kids, and like I mean like as a kid, like you learn these things that you wouldn't learn in these other sports. You can learn that through any sports. I was in freaking mathletes as a kid, right?
I agree.
We were like literally just doing math problems with and competing against other kids, and I still made some friends and bonds and things from those experiences. Like the idea that we would even be considering the difference between like making bonds with friendships versus literally damaging your brain for the rest of your life, it just sounds so asinine.
So, like, the thing I was specifically talking about was one when I talked to the doctors, like in the NFL, was because we're talking about they have the ability to treat them, right? Of course, people who have been clashing their fucking heads against each other for like 10 plus years to get to a professional level where they practice it like 3 times a week, clashing each other's heads against each other, and then do each other professional level, of course they're going to have a higher rate of fucking CTE. Like,
99%. 99%.
Yes.
All of them. So then it's a problem.
Are you saying they should ban the NFL? Is your advocacy to ban the NFL?
I would probably say, yeah, that's something we should probably look to. I know that.
Okay, cool.
I know that Americans typically won't, because Americans just really, they're like,
It
people
makes
really
money.
like-
They'll never get rid of it.
Right, and
Yeah.
it's too wealthy, right? So they're not going to change that. But the idea, what I expressed was, the idea is insane that we would entertain the notion that people should be allowed to absolutely irrevocably damage themselves for our entertainment. Like, that sounds insane to me. I don't know how it's not insane to any humanitarian.
Bring back.
Like, would you
They have good doctors that literally are paid for and hired by these billion-dollar industry that literally their job is to not report or to keep the players on the field, the money makers on the field. So they have people playing past injuries, as Joe Lewis just talked about. We obviously see they haven't done enough, because there's been a 99% CTE rate. We've been knowing about CTE for God knows how long. There's been doctors who talk about it that literally had to sue the freaking NFL. Will Smith made a freaking movie about it. So, like, talking about they got good doctors, these doctors are in the freaking NFL's pocket, and they know these niggas are making them money. It's predominantly black. These niggas are making them money, and at the same time, they don't care that they don't care about what's actually happening to these players. That's why there's not good representation for them financially. That's why there's not good representation for them in the form of doctors. So at the end of the day, like, all your little like your passive placation is just ridiculous. Like, this is actually
like,
a problem. It is
don't-
reasonable to cancel.
Wait, I'm not raising my voice at you, okay? So, like, I don't necessarily. I think I disagree with you about, like, full on banning it. I think I sort of lean more to Joe's side, the fact that we should probably, like, change the rules to make sure that hate clashes are illegal and things like this, and we try and, like, work through the regulations. I'm not sure how comfortable I am personally with telling people they can or can't do something, because a lot of these people just enjoy doing it and they want to do it. I'm not sure how much comfortable I am, like, telling people what they can do at that level, right? At that significant of a level. Like, but to be fair, you're right about the whole, like, CTE is a massive problem. It's what's happening right now is not good enough. Like, I'm not going to disagree with, like, any of that. I'm just not sure how comfortable I am with saying let's ban the fucking NFL, and and even, like, how viable that is as policy. Right?
You can allow the
Yeah, we go
NFL.
that
I
far,
think.
but-
I think when you turn 18, you can make the decision if you want to ruin your brain. But, like, I don't think you should be allowing kids to do it, for sure.
Katana.
like some-
Katana.
sorry,
I mean, with education,
Katana.
So it's like 2 points. That's 2 points addressed at me, and I get to respond to it. Sure.
Anna.
Yeah, I just want to say that perhaps a good, like, middle point would just be to go ahead and say, we're gonna ban NFL until you figure out your CTE thing. Bro, they have it done in a month. Like, same thing. Like, the people that own these teams want to make their money. Ban the NFL. CTE is gonna be gone within 5 minutes. Let's fucking go. Ban the NFL until you can solve your issues.
So Kill.
Impossible.
I
That's never
support.
gonna happen.
I support something a bit more.
No. The round's actually
sorry, yeah.
over. But I'm gonna let
Sure.
Kill respond. You got 2 points at you, but you got to be quick, right? Because the round is over. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So, because the only other part of that I'd say is that, like, I think it's a little bit. I agree with you that you can learn, like, team sports. It's like the other parts that I mentioned were like health fitness, but you can also do that doing, like, track and field. You're right, but I'm not sure how, like, comfortable I am, like, just saying, like, we just blanket ban these things, like, putting that hard limit on people's freedom. I'm all for limiting people's freedom where we can make, like, significant, like, gains, of course, right? Especially when it comes to kids who need to keep their fucking brains in check. But I feel like we could probably do these things in a more responsible enough manner where they can still do the things. Because if we tell people, like, you can't just tell kids that you're going to ban football because they're just going to fucking do it anyway. What you want to probably have is some way to, like, supervise it and do it done well, because these are fucking kids, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we could say the same thing about cigarettes or, like, weed or any other drugs. You're right. Good point.
The round is over. Okay. All right. So, to my audience, first of all, if you've just stumbled upon this channel, have enjoyed this conversation, do yourself a favor and do me a favor. Hit that follow button, hit the notification bell, so you know when I'm going live. We do this 6 days a week. We give you this content. This is a game show. We do this on Saturdays, but we give you all the content on Monday through Saturday. So please hit that follow button, hit that notification bell, so you know when I'm going live. Don't want you to miss out, as you already missed out some any other great moments here on this channel. Yes, hit that follow button. So right now we're going to do voting. We're going to vote among these individuals here. We're going to put a poll in chat. You are going to be voting for who you want to stay here, which of these individuals want to stay, and your criteria can be whatever you want. The most interesting, the most knowledgeable, the funniest, whatever it is, right? You're voting for who you want to stay, not who you want to go, who you want to keep, not who you want to kick. All right, that's simple. Person you want to stay, that's who you're voting for. So the link is in chat. The link is in chat. Don't wait. Like, we didn't get too much voting last time, but if your favorite person leaves, that's on you, not on me. All right. So the link is in chat. Jump into chat and click on that and yeah, vote now. Okay. And also we're gonna have 5 minutes on the clock. If your vote isn't in that 5 minutes, well, your vote doesn't count. That's how that works. All right. So let's go. All right. You guys want to say something?
Yeah, Joe, this is kind of like my first time hearing your thoughts, like your, I guess, more knee-jerk thoughts about that study that I talked about last time. Did you actually end up reading it?
Yes, of course. I knew the study going into that conversation.
Nice. I would like to have a conversation about that maybe sometime after this. It
Cool.
could be after this panel, on another day. We could talk about that. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, Kyo, like you just basically, it was wild to me. You just basically made the statement like, well, even if we ban it, kids are going to play it anyway. Like, as if kids are going to be able to organize professional football. Furthermore, like this whole notion that like I don't feel comfortable banning things outright. We do that all the time in this country. You don't have the right to drive without a freaking seatbelt on. Some people don't like it. It's uncomfortable. Like some people, I had a buddy that hated wearing it, but we made laws against that. We make laws about specific drugs. We tell kids they can't gamble. I mean, we tell people literally let people join the military and go and fight in our country and like literally risk their lives all the time that they don't have the ability to buy alcohol. We make all sorts of restrictions on young people,
I don't
even
disagree.
on adults. So this whole notion that like, I just don't like, I don't feel like we have a right to ban it. It's unfounded in
No.
this country.
So
We
like
get
it's
people in this country all the time.
So for one, this is something that's like a cultural touchstone. I know that in my community, like football is like the thing that everyone knows and like follows and stuff. And if you don't follow, like it's usually like some level, right? Like football is like such a massive cultural position, and I'm pretty sure this is the case in the US. That like it'd be incredibly difficult to do. And of course, you're not going to ban like fucking like kids getting together and creating like 12-person teams. But my dude, I used to play like fucking like tackle rugby in the street with like 3 other kids, right? This isn't like, yeah.
Well, something
That's
that
absolutely
But Gino, you have to realize that what you're bringing up here is an anecdotal experience.
Right, like what are
Yeah,
you
of
talking
course.
about? We're talking about
Well,
whether
something
that you could do, yeah.
Listen, what you're going to do with your friends, like in the street, like versus like obviously having large scale organizations for it, are totally different things. And let's talk about the fact that when these things are no longer displayed on screen, then a lot of these things disappear. Children watch football, see their dads playing football, their dads encourage them to play football, and then they organize football games within themselves. We probably
So how the fuck are you gonna ban it?
Yeah, but I don't know whether banning it is the solution
we
though.
would see a humongous drop in the football.
So how would you ban it?
Because there's
But what
national
about MMA?
organizations.
What about
like-
everything else? What about? I mean, there's so
I
many
mean, I
other
have-
things
I
that
have
if we're
a-
really
I
looking
have
to
a-
ban
I
things, I think
feel like
I have a
we're
prescription.
talking
pretty
past
low
each
on the
other.
list.
I want to ask a clarifying question to Fnatic here. Okay, Fnatic, are you like really just arguing for the eventual disappearance of football, or the more like the immediate?
I'm arguing on what would I'm not obviously arguing just from a theoretical perspective what should be happening, because ultimately
Okay.
I know just as much as everyone else does, it's not going anywhere. It's like a multi-billion dollar industry. There's no
Right.
freaking way that it's disappearing.
Yeah, so you would be okay with the eventual
But this would
disappearance
be
of
like your
football.
prescription, I guess.
Oh, for
If-
sure. Yeah,
Yet imagine
I
why.
have
All of
my-
us are arguing from a
erasure
perspective.
culture. If we're talking about the eventual erasure from culture, like over like the span of like whatever how many years it takes to get fucking rid of football, then yeah, sure, I'm all for getting rid of like athletes and like combat sports athletes, and outside of these people being like the cultural touchstones, and obviously having like something else. Like I'd rather have fucking mathletes be like the thing that we're all super hype about, or like everyone like tuning in to watch the World Barista Championships. I'd be fucking dope with that, right? Like I don't think anyone would disagree with that at all.
I mean, I have an
I
idea
think a lot of
like,
people
that I
would.
think is a quick prescription.
I
Like
agree.
again, like one thing that I support, and this is getting some buzz in Jersey, is that again banning all head-to-head contact from the college level down. Another thing that you can do within the rule system is when the ball is active and a head-to-head collision occurs, the play dies.
All right. So okay.
And
and
that's like
and-
two things that are
Yeah, and just again, everyone, now's the time to vote. The link is in chat. If you haven't been voting, it's up to you, right? Okay, don't be pissed off when your favorite gets eliminated, because that's your fault. That is not my fault. That is absolutely on you. So I've been spamming the link in chat. Hurry up, vote now. Don't dick around. Vote now. It takes just a second to vote in the poll, right? So click that poll link and jump in there. And just so you know, get that out there. We have a Patreon, right? We got a Patreon. Jump into the Patreon. Tell us what you want to do with the Patreon, guys. What do you want us to offer you? So you know, we want to build out a Patreon up. Also, of course, we have our our YouTube channel. So exclamation point YouTube and exclamation point Patreon in chat. So find those links. The YouTubes will be dropping. Our VODs, our clips, our highlights, all that goes there in the YouTube. So please be so kind as to sub to the YouTube if you have not done so already. And watch stuff there and like, comment, subscribe. That would be amazing. But yeah, that would be a lot of fun if you would do that. So okay. So that's it for voting. That's it for voting. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to refresh the page. If you wait until afterwards, then I don't give a shit. Your vote doesn't count. That's how that works. So here we go. We'll find out who is the winner. Okay. All right. Well, that's pretty decisive. So the first place vote getter is our man Kyo-san. Kyo-san, number 1. All right, yeah, flex. You gotta flex on people, all right? Let them know. Let them know.
Let's go.
It's at the top, right? Second, my man Fnatic. Fnatic coming in. Holy crap. Coming in hard on the bottom.
I'm surprised he didn't beat me that round, to be fair, okay? Did really good, real strong performance.
Yeah, strong performance. Yeah, I gotta say. Next. We have.
Thank you.
We have at the bottom 3. Starting from the top, will be Katarana. It would be Revolt Rise, and finally Senpai Chow. You've fallen so far. I don't know. It's heartbreaking. I'm hurt from watching this happen. But any which way, we're going to vote. So, the top vote getters are going to vote. They will decide which one of you stays, which one of you goes. All right. So, the top of Kyo-san and Fnatic. Katarana, 30 seconds left on the clock. Tell them why you should stay.
Coolio. Yeah, I see that the next one is about, well, not the next one, but one of the topics is about hot tub streamers, just as a side piece. And I feel like as somebody with vagina and boobage, I have a lot of experience in what it's like to share boobage and not share boobage to the internet. So if you want to get a Wamixon's take on boobage on the internet, go ahead and keep me.
She is a physicist, not an English major, so that's why she's making up random words there. That's please forgive
Is that
her.
how that's said?
She's trying her best, but not her forte. Okay, next is Revolt Rise. Why should you stay?
Well, I guess I have to argue with chat somewhere. I guess I didn't really have a whole lot to say that time. These guys had it covered pretty good, other than the fact that, like, I can't believe you guys are gonna let your kids keep damaging their brains just because they might go and skateboard or something. Anyway, but okay, fine. Yeah. Other than that, I don't know. I think I lose the in-poll game, so I don't have anything to fall back on.
Senpai Chow.
Yeah, I'll admit the second topic wasn't really my best. Not my expertise, didn't have a lot to say. It's more of a personal choice than a political one, though it could have been made relevantly political, which I kind of wanted it to go that way when talking about, say, like sending people to war for like the same kind of issues that we would be talking about for this relevant topic. But the next topic, the third one, when it involves the military and following the local laws of the countries that they're in, that's going to be my home game because I study international relations. War is one of the topics that's my thing. All right, good luck. Exactly. So that's why you should keep me, Kyo, because you want to kick my ass, right?
I'm gonna prove you smart.
I'm gonna be a stepping stone. Hey, and here's the thing: is that I gotta be out by 11. So you could keep me here, and then by the time that we're talking about hot tub streamers, well, I want to be watching an anime movie because we're having anime movie nights. We actually watch real anime other than One Piece.
I wish you had told me that you had a time to get out. That would have been useful information. Okay, all right. So, Kill and Fnatic, what you'll do is you will DM me the person you want to throw out. So, one single name, please. Right? You can be better than Joe. Right? You can clear that bar. Right? So, follow simple instructions. And okay, that is one person. All right, it's been decided. And the next person, once Kill gets his fucking act together.
I don't know. I don't decide. They're a really good bunch of people in the bottom, okay? And I feel bad that they're there.
Okay, all right. Well, it's been decided. It's been decided. There is no going back. All right. So 2 people have been voted out, and it's 2 this time. So no one gets to drag another person down, which is always fun. All right. So the first person to head out to head off to this episode, that is Revolt Rise. Revolt Rise. I'm sorry to say it. Sorry to experience it because this hurts. This burns.
Sorry.
Revolt Rise.
No problem. Take care. Thanks for having me.
Tell the
See
world
you
about
guys.
you. Gonna say something?
Yeah, what do you want me to say? Check me out. I'm on here and on Twitter, and I'll put it in the chat. See you guys.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, buddy. And finally, the next person to leave.
Do it. Do it.
Senpai Chow.
Do it. All right.
You're staying for
It
a
had to
little
happen.
longer. Katarana, it's not time to go.
Obama?
Yeah.
Oh my God! Really?
Revolt Rise is covering his camera so I can't see him.
Yeah, really, fanatic. Somehow, Katarana ended up getting voted out. Don't know how that happened.
Yo, you're crazy, bro.
Wait,
you're,
what?
You're nuts.
Yeah. Katarana.
Prime, you can't just do the Gordon Ramsay thing where you just say a person's name and like get back in line.
Yeah, that's exactly what I have to do.
Oh,
So,
Good job.
damn.
Maybe you probably should start talking about boobulage more often. I don't know.
Okay. You know, it's you.
Maybe,
got eliminated,
maybe
right?
you should have been streaming from a hot tub.
Katarana. You know it's you, right?
Oh, it's me.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's you.
chill. Oh.
I
Okay,
kept saying
that
that.
works.
I kept saying it.
Yeah, I was confused. Sorry, you said the word. Okay. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Libby. Okay,
Tell
hi.
the world about yourself.
Well, I'll just go do my own fucking hot tub stream. So, go fuck yourself, buddy.
No, don't do it.
She won't.
Big fan. What?
Tell the world about yourself.
I'm about to go get 500 views from hot tub stream. Other than that, sometimes I do science. Actually, I only do science. Tomorrow, I am actually doing the Quasar stream. I'm also going to be tutoring you, and if you're under the age of 18 or under the age of calculus level, I will be doing a tutoring stream from 6 to 10, I think, tomorrow. Where if you need help with chemistry, physics, math, or coding, I will sit there and help you with your homework. So if you are have exams coming up soon and you don't know what the fuck is going on, come to my stream, pop questions in the chat. I will sit there and whiteboard teach you how to do anything that you need help with for school. So yeah, that's basically me. And sometimes I'm an e-thought, I guess, now. So it's time for hot tubs. Have a good day.
Okay. All right. Goodbye, Revolt Rise. Goodbye, Katarana. See you later. All right.
See ya.
Yep. Yeah. So it's almost there. It's almost gone. It's about to disappear. It's working. Don't worry.
She hears you.
No, I wanted to. But I'll help you out. Bye. So.
Yo, how
Yikes.
dare you?
The
Savage.
authoritarian dictatorship
No.
mask off. PrimeCayes is coming out.
That's how we do it. Okay. All right.
I can't believe it.
We can turn off the dramatic music. Oh man. I can't believe you. goddammit. I was heartbroken when I saw that notification. I was like, no, not her.
I was really worried because when you said Senpai Child, oh no, now it's gonna look like I did that after I joked about kicking him out.
And you got freaking.
Yeah.
That's
Fanatic,
crazy.
my man.
Oh.
It comes out.
Okay. So, third round. Starting now. Third topic. Should U.S. troops be subject to the local laws of the countries they are occupying? And this was inspired by KTN. KTN, another viewer here. Part of the All Black Everything roundtable that we had on Thursday. But yeah, he inspired this. Should U.S. troops be subject to the local laws of the countries they are occupying? 25 minutes left on the clock. Go, go, go.
Yes.
All right,
So I
Prime,
would just have
just
to
to be
hurry up and
clear-
ask: are we saying that they should be only following the laws of that country, or is that on top of the U.S.
On
laws
top.
already?
That definitely should be on top of international law. But just to clarify things with Prime is that I didn't expect to get this far, but let's fucking go. And yes, absolutely on top. Local laws, U.S. laws, international law, everything that is within their jurisdiction. Because here's the thing about the current state of wars or the current state of U.S. troops right now is that one, we have to rely on local people when it comes to translations or when it comes to information and things like that. We're not going to be building that trust and actually achieving our objectives overseas if we're not going to be complying with, say, their laws, their customs, their culture. There's definitely a lot of distrust when it comes to the presence of US troops. And then on top of that, especially when it comes to cases in Afghanistan, we employ just as much contractors than have U.S. military troops in that country. And a lot of those contractors are local people. And also, if they're going to be following a lot of the laws in the local, so should the United States military.
How do you think the priority system would work?
What priority system? What are you trying to get at here?
Priority systems with laws that might potentially contradict each other. Where would you set the precedent?
That they contradict each other. What would be contradicting, for example?
It could be something as simple as how to engage with citizens, or something a bit more broad and nebulous when it comes to their opinion on something like civil unions. My question here again is that if there is a law that would exist that contradict, like let's say I'm going to just name two countries just for to center the example, right? If there's a law in Japan and we're in there because of X or Y reason, and our law in the United States contradicts that law in Japan, what takes precedent?
Okay, so definitely, this is kind of just going to be my opinion.
Sure.
This is not the description of what we are doing right now. Is that it should be from the top to the bottom, international, that domestic country that we are in, and then the United States law. And
Gotcha.
the reasoning that is because when it comes to international law, that's the law that we're going to be that's going to be focusing on the laws of war, on human rights, humanitarian law, the laws of conflict, things like that. And then below that, then is the second in priority is the country that we're in, the host country, for the reasons that I explained before, and then U.S. law.
So, like, I'm not, like, super up on this one because it's, like, U.S. military doctrine and then international relations, right? This is, like, a double whammy for me. So I don't really have strong positions on this. But, like, if we were to take, like, Middle East countries or some, like, extreme level countries where U.S. troops are stationed, where the laws are probably going to be really, really incongruous to U.S. values, like, should we be forcing them to do that? Like, forcing, for example, like, female officers to go out wearing full burqas?
No, so yeah, I think this conversation it's taken a weird turn. It just depends on the two different conversations we had, right? Because there's two reasons why we would be in a country. There's sometimes we're in a country where it's like actual war, and if you're thinking that you're going to be in war in a country and you're going to be following that country's laws, it's going to be pretty ridiculous, right? Like you're going to have to be subverting a bunch of the laws. You're literally sometimes trying to overthrow a government, and I'm pretty sure most places have laws against trying to overthrow their government. So when in a case of war, clearly we're going to be probably doing a lot worse than just following the laws. But I would say that when there's different kinds of occupation, right? We've had a really long-standing relationship with Japan after Hiroshima. We didn't allow them to build their own military, and then our troops were stationed there for quite some time. I remember there was some pretty big problems with people with U.S. Naval. Some of the U.S. naval officers, or just whatever, some of the naval folks going into the freaking towns and being completely disrespectful, and doing a bunch of nonsense. There were some violent things that were happening, into where it was literally creating some conflict with their government and our stations there. So the idea, like, yes, I would say that they should probably be held to a higher standard if we're trying to build relationships with people. But if it's war, then yeah, we should go out there and just do whatever we need.
Isn't that what UCMJ is, though?
I'm not an imperialist, so in most cases, I think most of the time when the U.S. goes to other places, we're literally doing all sorts of nonsense that I think a lot of times we shouldn't. What we did to Haiti, what we did to the Philippines, what we did to Korea, so on and so forth. We're just always out meddling and doing absolute nonsense. What we've done in Venezuela. So the idea is, yeah, I would say in most cases, I would say I really would just rather the U.S. not be there. I'd rather private private nonprofits and stuff providing aid and stuff like that. But when it comes to actual conflict that we have to do in those cases, the idea of is following. Like
I mean, Kyo-san brought up something that kind of concerns me, right? So like when we talk about hijab and well, I'll talk specifically about hijab, right? It's banned in France. So based on Senpai Chow's precedent, if you are serving in the United States Army, you are allowed asterisk and fine print to wear hijab. So going to a foreign country, and a country saying, hey, you're not allowed to wear hijab, I'm not too sure if service members would be okay with something like that. So
yeah, so this is really
that's why
weird.
That's why I asked about precedent.
Yeah, so then I was definitely really just focused on not necessarily the cultural laws, but more so just like laws concerning war, conflict relations, something like the hijab, maybe not on the priority when it comes to following laws, but as I already said before, when it comes to U.S. service members overseas, and right now we're not really invading a country. We're fighting the war on terror in the Middle East. That's a bit different. It's really important to get the confidence from the locals in themselves, because, like as I said before, they have a lot of information that we need. They speak the language, things like that. And so, being able to at least like make an effort in order to follow the laws, in order to get that respect, will do us a lot of good.
But
so you're saying there should be sort of yes, and yes of a hierarchy, but there might be certain places where there can be exceptions. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah.
So isn't this just more
I mean,
like a respect
definitely the
for
hijab thing was a curveball that I didn't really think about. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because like the reason why I bring that up, because what we're seeing, especially in the UK, is that there's a progressive limitation of public, whether it be niqab or hijab. And for service members, yes, like a level of, you can say that there's a level of cultural assimilation that you have to do to gain the trust of citizens. But then there's like a lot of like weird pseudo religious permissions or lack thereof, which can get very kind of murky. That's why I brought it up.
Yeah, and then like this really shouldn't just extend to the United States service members in the countries that we are in, but it ought to extend to other people's militaries in other countries as well, especially when it comes to, say, peacekeeping forces. A lot of those peacekeeping forces, they're not UN military. They don't come from the United Nations. They're organized by the United Nations, but they come from countries who volunteer their service members. And it would be, I imagine, and this has already been documented, really difficult for those peacekeepers to do what they want to do or what they went there in order to accomplish if they aren't following the laws of that place, because then the people are going to see that as hypocritical, and they're not going to be complying with whatever mandate that we want to set there, whether it's resolving a conflict or getting some kind of peace agreements like that.
So
yeah, but I think the point that Joe is making is that there.
No, please go
Oh
ahead.
yeah, I think the point that Joe was making is that there would be limitations. Like I think he brings up like a perfect point. Like think about a hijab though, right? Like in a case where we're like where this is the law, right? And then like we have like actual like service women who are like there. I don't know. Like, do we sit there and say, well, you know, you guys need to wear this garb that like they're requiring? I don't like. Would you feel comfortable with that, Senpai?
Well, I kind of already addressed this, did I not? But I will do it
Maybe I
again
missed it.
in that
Please do it again,
I don't. Okay, yeah, I don't see that as being a big deal, meaning that that wouldn't even take priority. I wouldn't even think about that.
But
About
what do you mean
having
you wouldn't-
service members
so
wear the hijab.
What do you mean you wouldn't think about it? You're saying like absolutely not? Is that what you're saying?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Can I ask a second
Just making
question?
sure that we're
Because
having an understanding.
Yeah. Can I ask a second question really quickly? So, like, one of the things that was really big here in Oz a little while back was something called the Bali 9, which were 9 drug smugglers from Australia who had stashed a whole bunch of drugs in their surfboards, had got pulled up in Bali, and a bunch of them got put through the death sentence, right? So the thing I'd ask is, if we're subjecting them to local laws, are we subjecting them to local courts?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. What? 100%.
But then
They
also,
should.
again, this is why I bring up the hijab argument, because basically what we're seeing in the UK is that you have variations of whether it be a national ban to a local ban or a partial ban from country to country. So like the navigation that a service member who would be wearing hijab or a headscarf would be very different just from one border to another. So I'm not too sure if that's not, I don't know. I mean, hijab is like the only example that I can think of at the top of my head, but it's definitely something that I could see
Drinking's
a
another
lot
one.
of. Yeah, I could definitely see a lot of contention because hijab and the idea of headscarf is a very outward public thing. It's not really something that, for example, the military can like skirt around and making like, whoa, making sort of like exceptions of that. Because that
Yeah,
could get some service members in risk if they're in a country that may create a change of a law, you know?
Yeah, and dude,
Of
we already
course.
have that, right? So like when we go to Singapore, if I believe, it was like hyper conservative. My brother told me when they would when they would get off the port, like they weren't allowed to have an earring in their ear because that was like they were just so hyper conservative. So it's like you can't wear you can't wear earrings.
Hyper
Like
clean.
women had to wear like specific types of garb. They couldn't wear like stuff that was too revealing. They wanted you to cover tattoos. Like there were like all sorts of stuff because at the end of the day, we do have like diplomatic relationships with these people. And yeah, if we have customs and laws, and then you decide like, we're just gonna take a dump all over those. I could see that as like being probably harmful, like in the grand scheme of things. So I would say it makes sense to do that in the same sense that we wouldn't want someone doing like like ignoring our laws here. Like if for instance, if someplace has, I don't know, something like, I don't know, child marriage or something, like the idea that they would come to the United States and be like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and try to, get at this kid. It'd be like, are you freaking insane? And we'd lose our freaking minds. So I think in the same sense, it makes sense that we would probably,
And
like expect
to
something out of them.
And to Fanatic's point, which makes it really tricky, right? Like, so we only have 4 states on the book that ban marriage for people under the age of 18. So you could definitely see a situation like that of an individual coming into the United States and then marrying somebody under the age of 18 and then saying, well, hang on, this is legal in your state. Like, yes, this is morally unacceptable, but according to your federal government and your state's rights, this is free ball, save 4 states.
So
this is also a PSA of like, get your shit together, United States.
So what about
ban
for
marriage.
our,
The reason why I was going to sorry,
I
go
was
on.
just wondering, what about for our gay and trans soldiers who end up in other countries that may not be so welcoming to them?
Yeah, so then one way around these kinds of, or like creating this kind of exception, is by reaching some sort of understanding between the governments, to say the United States and the host country. So then I would really hope that the United States government really has their shit together and is able to create these kinds of exceptions. And one of them is pretty obvious. Take, for example, embassies. Technically, when you're in some country's embassy inside your host country, say, take for example, I went to the German embassy. No, I went to the German consulate in New York City, and when I was in that building, I was subject to German law. And the same thing applies to military bases, and we're able to form that kind of agreement. But kind of like the example, the more extreme example that really fits into what I really want to focus on, rather than the jobs, is take, for example, last year when the United States sent in a drone that killed General Soleimani. The Iraqi government and the Iraqi people did not like that because it was unauthorized, because it breached international law, it breached Iraqi law, it breached their trust. And that led to the Iraqi legislature to demand the U.S. military to leave its territory.
Yeah. So
it was very disrespectful, and like that's the level of stuff that we really want to talk about. That's relevant to this topic. Like what's important.
So
well,
what
I would say everything that we're talking about is important for sure.
Well, it has to do with like the level of respect. This isn't necessarily like saying that they should like follow the laws. It's saying it should probably be respectful of local customs. They should probably be respectful in how they engage in the area, work with the local governments. Like this isn't necessarily saying that like the soldiers could follow the laws. Not only like when it comes
do
to
this already though.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Right, we should maintain that.
It's like, yeah, exactly right. Like I think like the hijab point is a good example, but even outside of that, I think like if we were to say like the one to get spawned with the local courts before, is it like, because I've got some of my chat like help me out because I don't know anything about this, so hopefully I can put this across well. But one of the points they put across is that when you're subject to local courts, you're subject to local techniques as well. So if you're in, I think it was they mentioned Iraq or Egypt, your soldiers are now able to be interrogated with torture as a part of the process of prosecuting there, at least I'm told, right? Like, I'd be really fucking concerned if we allowed other countries to torture like local soldiers just for being a part of like following those laws. It seems like we should just be respectful to local customs, be respectful to how we engage with these other governments, which the US does, but could probably do to a higher degree than what they are, specifically under the Trump government, like you mentioned with the assassination of Soleimani, but that we just be respectful.
So what about
Be smart about
the
it.
Mysore Square massacre, which I think was in Iraq, if I'm not mistaken, or when soldiers rape foreign citizens? Should they be under those laws? Should they have to be like, you know, like you kill you murder a bunch of our citizens, right? And then you just leave, and maybe you get justice in the States, maybe not.
No,
Ship
like I
them to
think
the ICC.
no, when you break laws, like so the only time that you would have some sort of diplomatic immunity, even like as a soldier, is when you're acting as a soldier and under the guise of a soldier. So then in that case, if we're in wartime, then a lot of that stuff would be off. But if you're like if it's not that, like for example, if you're just like in Japan, where we have one of our naval bases, like if you're there and you just like step off the ship and you rape someone, I'm pretty sure you're subject to their laws, and of course you're gonna have to deal with the whatever. But if you're if you're on duty and you do something, it's an entirely different situation. It gets a lot more murky. You probably are going to be subject to whatever, and then they might make you be. I don't know how that works exactly, but I do know for a fact that if you're functioning as a civilian, you should be punished as a civilian. I would. That makes sense to me.
Basically, what
Well, what
Fanatic is
happened-
distinguishing is
Yeah,
between
schoolboy.
combatants and non-combatants,
So
and
what
we're
happens
already
within the-
doing this when it comes to international humanitarian law.
So for the Mysore Square massacre, that particularly, I think that was done by
What is
contractors. If I'm I'm not sure. But in any case, let's say there is a massacre, right? And it's so in Iraq, like I'm not sure you could call it a war, but right now we're just kind of occupying the territory, holding ground now, right? And they were just like on tour, and this thing happened. They weren't being attacked, right? They were away from base, but they weren't being attacked, and sprayed bullets and killed a lot of people, killed kids. It was horrible,
Yeah.
right? I'm sorry. What am I hearing? I'm hearing noise. Can someone mute? I'm hearing other people talk. So, there was a massacre that happened. So like in that case, they weren't defending themselves. So who should they be subject to local laws, right? So those people be able to get some sort of justice, especially since in the U.S. is maybe likely we won't get justice. And those are just the ones we know of, right? There are other instances where we don't know of that are being kept secret from us. We know this from like the leaks that we've already had. There have been leaks where they've talked about crimes the U.S. military had covered up. So there's definitely more out there. So should they not be subject to local laws?
I just don't know where we're going with this if we already do this though. That's my question. Like I don't know.
Well, we kind of don't, because here's the thing about
I-
the United States' relationship to the Rome Statute and the International Criminal
But
Court.
what is the status
that
of force
we-
agreement then?
What
Like,
status of
isn't that
force?
basically what that is though?
Sure, but
Like,
here's
we
the
have
thing
to
about the
negotiate with
status
the
of
host
force is
country,
that,
and
like,
we have to-
I already told you my hierarchy is that it goes from international law to then the local laws and then the national. So then what's at the very top would be the Rome Statute, which outlines that what is prohibited are war crimes, which have been committed by plenty of U.S. contractors and or U.S. military men, and we refuse to send them to The Hague in order to get a trial for what are atrocities. And we even have an act in the United States passed that if there was a U.S. national in The Hague at trial in the International Criminal Court, we are to send our military, or we can send in our military to invade and extradite that individual.
Well, I mean, I think I'm with you, Chow, on one aspect where I think that when it comes to Hague, there should be more accountability to the ability for the Hague to actually have a level of what's the word I'm thinking of? A level of actual enforcement. Like we have this problem with an adoption where despite the fact that we have Hague conventions and non-Hague convention countries, it took the United States government to force non-Hague country non-Hague Convention countries into compliance. And even then, it's incredibly murky because not a lot of countries have a central state or a central like municipality when it comes to the enforcement of adoption laws, which is why you have situations where in the United States, as an example, right, like you could adopt a child from, for the longest time, Ethiopia. On its book, it looks like a totally legal adoption, but they stripped that child from a family, and then that child now is living in the United States legally as an adoptee, and the only way they can actually like argue for things like emancipation and stuff like that until they're 18, mainly because it's a combination of United States laws versus international laws conflicting with each other. Where on the national, and then on the national side, it's like, hey, internationally, this law was completely legal and by the books, but they essentially what happened was the non-Hague Convention country was lying to the United States government. Like that's something I don't think is okay.
Again, I just don't know what, like we do this in a majority of the countries already, like, and the majority of the Middle Eastern countries don't apply, like they don't have the, like their non-compliance with Hague. So I don't really know I don't know what we do there. What do we, how can we force the Middle Eastern countries to comply with that?
Well, something that the United States did with adoption is that they forced compliance to things such as abduction records. So what that looks like is that, hey, if you don't comply with certain Hague Convention regulations, we're going to treat this adoption as an abduction. And that basically, for better or worse, giant asterisk and 30 pages of fine print create a bit more compliance for some of the African countries that were just essentially doing the idea of like, oh, you're just going to go to school for a few years and then you're going to come back. Where it's like, hang on, like you're going to have like proper paperwork of the situation and other stuff of that nature. Now, granted, I don't know how that would exist for other types of things outside of, say, adoption, but I definitely think that some level of forced compliance could work, but I don't know where the line would be.
And Nacho, here's the thing: is that it's not, the issue isn't the Middle Eastern countries not complying with the Hague. It's the United States not applying with the Hague. We're signatory to the Rome Statute, but we ratified it, and then we took away that ratification just around the time of the War on Terror.
Are we not compliant with it though?
We're not. We don't send in our nationals to the Hague.
I'm just
There
like,
are
on the fly
there have
googling
been
some of this stuff,
multiple
but I mean, like we're
prosecutors
not in the
from
list.
the
There's like a list of
ICC.
non-Hague countries, and we're not on there. So I don't know. So, but if we're in a country like this is where the majority of our, like, I mean, I guess maybe this is where our contentions are lying here, like with a lot of the Middle Eastern countries. Maybe is it? I mean, that's where we're occupying mostly right now, and that's where we're like at war. So if there were, I would assume that if there were crimes being committed, it would be in probably these countries, right? And
Yeah, but here's
these are
the thing: is
so
that
that's why I brought up like the list of Middle Eastern
It
countries.
doesn't matter where war crimes are being committed. A war crime is a war crime. That's under the subject of the Rome Statute in the ICC.
So why aren't these war crimes being enforced by the military themselves?
Well, I wonder why.
I mean, like this
well,
is
the
kind
idea
of
is
where
Because they
we
want
get
to
into the.
accomplish something, and that gets in the way.
Then
Yeah,
what
of
do
course.
we? Oh god!
But that's
I
the
hate to
thing
ask
about
this
the
again.
international law.
But I mean,
is that
between
I'm
the
arguing from a
UCMJ and like the SOFA code or whatever, like the status of force agreement, like these things, I think the U.S. is applying these things to our own troops. Are we not? I mean, can you point to some
no.
cases where we're not doing this?
Yeah,
I mean,
multiple.
it's a genuine question. I
Especially
don't
when
know.
especially when Donald Trump is the one, or the president. I don't even. It doesn't even have to be Donald Trump. Okay, just the president has the ability, and they have done so in order to what is that called? I forget. Like absolve them from their crimes.
A thought that I have, I don't know where this fits in the conversation, and I just got infrared out of my DMs, so I'm gonna tread around this
Congrats.
very carefully. So what happens in a situation, right, where the United States government feels compelled to enter into a country like China, and then service members are captured, right? So like on one hand, like you could say that, well, they are beholden to international law, but then there's a very clear argument that seems to be from the United States government that the way that individuals are getting arrested in China at being as charitable as possible is incredibly suspect. So I'm wondering where that fits in.
Wait, the arrests? Are you talking about the Uyghur genocide?
It could be. That's one example for sure.
I'm just really confused about the hypothetical. So you're talking about like U.S. service members going into China.
Yes.
Okay, and then they get arrested. Are we like invading them? Or are we?
It doesn't necessitate China, though, does it, Joe? It could be any country.
Yeah, it could be any country. I'm just using China as a
And
recent.
that is the
Oh,
round.
God. Thank you, saving me from these tankies.
We already do it. That's
So, to my audience,
last word.
if you've been enjoying this conversation, enjoying this game show type thing that we do on Saturdays, and we have other content for you 6 days a week, then hit that follow button, hit that notification bell right now, right this moment. Don't wait for it. Don't wait. We would hate for you to miss out on the content we have coming up for you. All right, so we'll have our referee panel on Monday. It'll be a lot of fun. We're gathering some interesting people. Hope you'll enjoy it, but you gotta be around there for it. So hit that follow button right now. If you haven't done so before, if you're not part of the team, hit the follow button, hit the notification bell so you know when I'm going live. All right, so once again, you're going to be voting for the people who you want to stay. Now you're going to go. So we're going to be going into our final round. All right, so the next round is our final round. So we're going to be going into our final round. You're going to be voting for who you want to stay. Now you want to go. Who you want to keep, who you not who you want to kick. Like, these are simple instructions, but some people screw this up. So the poll is in chat. Polls in chat. Vote now. Don't vote later. Your favorite will leave, right? And someone who doesn't deserve to stay will stay. So
Wait. Okay.
now.
So this is a vote to kick.
Yes.
Vote for me. I need to go. Vote for me. Okay. I am
wait,
literally giving you the easiest choice. Vote for me.
Were you absolutely serious? No, dude. It's the vote to stay. Like I just
Yeah, I was just like, say, don't prank me.
Like, just,
Well, that's why I asked for clarification.
I thought you were kidding because I just said it like in five different ways. I said this. This is a vote for who you want to stay. I just in 5 different ways I said it using different words.
This is a
every
mind
time.
trick.
Like, holy crap.
See, this is a mind trick because now people are gonna vote for me.
Anyway, so you're voting for who you want to stay, like who is the most interesting, most knowledgeable, the funniest, whatever it is, right? Like that's the person you are voting for. Please vote now, right this moment, for that individual, so who can stay. Yeah, so do that right this second. Remember, also we have our YouTube, YouTube, that we're trying to grow over there. You haven't been there before, and hop over there and subscribe to the channel. We're trying to blow that up, but we need your help to make that happen. And also, if you're watching things, like, subscribe, and comment. That would be great. Do all those things, all the YouTube things when you're over there. All that helps our stats, so we can grow that. Maybe get another revenue source here. It'd be very much interesting. Oh fuck! I was supposed to put on the. I knew I was gonna fade eventually. I'm gonna put 3 minutes left, or 4 minutes left on the clock, since I forgot to start it before. All right. Anyway, it's fine. So when that clock ends, though, of course, that'll be the end of voting. I don't give a shit if you voted afterwards. That's your fault, not my fault. And your favorite person ends up leaving. That's your fault, not my fault. So hurry up. This because we're going into our final round. Vote right now. Okay, go ahead if you guys want to say something.
Oh, just so quick shout out to Less Speaks in my community for coming up with they were a former soldier and they were talking a lot about their stuff and posed a lot of interesting questions. So most of the stuff that I'd said this round was basically their opinion, not mine. Although I tend to agree with them, they seem very, very smart. So I thought they posed a couple of interesting questions in terms of like hypotheticals. I really, really liked what you said, Joe. In terms of like sort of flipping what I mentioned about like France, where you have to where you can't wear face coverings because they're like so they have like this weird thing about secularism where their secularism isn't having everyone agree with like let it live and let live. It's very much like aggressively secular. So I really appreciated that.
Yeah, and I mean, like Chow brought up some good points as well. And Fnatic too. Like I feel like this is
of course.
Yeah,
I was just saying that yours doesn't really hit me. I was like, oh, that's a way better example than I used.
But I think, look, I want to say, like, really, okay. So I didn't have much to say in that conversation overall because I feel like at the end of it, like, we have some pretty reasonable policies in place already when it comes to like following these kind of laws. We already have like a system that works. Obviously, when people skirt the system and the U.S. protects them, then that's problematic. And so then the basic question of should the U.S. follow is so simple. So it's like, I mean, I have a problem when it comes to just like staying and like talking around in circles around
There's
an
only
issue.
one topic left, so why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't I?
Right, Nacho.
Yeah.
I
No,
no,
like,
no,
and
that's
even-
my bad.
and
I
even
muted
to-
in the middle of us
Oh,
talking.
that's all good. And even to your point, Fanatic, something that like I pay close attention to is the compliance of the Hague Convention, right? So one thing that Russia did, it's kind of just went under the rug because people started blaming Trump, is that like Russia pulled out of the Hague Convention for adoptions, so now they're not in compliance. And then Vladimir and people were like kind of giving Trump some hot shit when he's like, oh, he's lying when he talked to Vladimir Putin about adoption. And then like Vladimir Putin on like Russian national television said, I don't trust the United States government with our children. And it's like, you know what? Unironically, based take. And so they pulled out. But then that makes things incredibly murky if you were to adopt a Russian national into the United States. And then like obviously I could go on for hours about the abuses that other countries do due to their non-hate compliance. And again, I'm not fully on the board of like forcing hate compliance through other types of regulations, but in terms of adoption, it's really, really gross.
Yeah, I just don't know. I feel like we do a lot of this stuff already, so that's where I was like lost. Like I don't really understand what what we're missing. I guess what we're trying to repair here, or what the prescription would even be.
Well, yeah, there's even like the idea of
Yeah,
military
so
bases, right?
Nacho,
Like, yeah, go for it.
the theory behind it is that we could be potentially, and this has happened consistently throughout history, is that states have their own conflict of interest. We're not really okay with sending our nationals to a foreign court, whether that be the International Criminal Court or some other court in the states, in another state, because, well, we want them to be safe, yeah? But that's the thing about the international community, is that they're a third party, and their goal is to make sure that these laws and these atrocities, there's justice for them.
Okay, everyone, now is the time to vote. If you haven't voted before, I hope you did now. Or your favorite will end up leaving, and that will be your fault. But the voting period's just about over. Okay.
Vote to kick me.
Okay. All right, here it is. We are going to go. And what do we have here? All right. So we have.
I swear this works.
So we have the top vote getter. The top vote getter here is our main man, Joe Lewis. Joe Lewis.
Fuck.
Joe's not looking good.
My balls are so hot right now. I'm trying to turn my...
Joe Lewis, number one. Number one. All right, number one.
It's so hot in my room right now.
Turn that ceiling fan on. I can see it behind you. It's a fucking
No,
big ass-
everything is on. Everything is on.
If the ceiling fan is not on, we can see it. It's sitting still.
Produce more heat,
If I
guys.
turn it on, it'll cause a break. It's a whole thing.
It'll cause a breaker switch. Dude, I got the same problem. I gotta change the breakers. I got a smart breaker in here, man.
It's only because, and then like the drill. It's only because the dishwasher is on downstairs.
I got you,
So
bro.
if I
Yep.
turn that-
Oh my god.
So and the bottom two, because only one will be eliminated here. So the bottom two are Senpai Chow and Fanatic. All right, Senpai Chow and Fanatic. So. Please, Joe Lewis will be deciding, will be the decider, and so Fanatic, Senpai Chow. Why should Joe not get rid of you?
I volunteered as tribute, and this is kind of weird because I feel like I did pretty well that round, but there's something going on, or maybe Twitch chat is actually doing something right and not voting for me, even though I was trying to play some mind games. Good on you, chat. I have no idea how to view if like maybe you just got some loyalty with some people on here or not, but I'll let it be.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Fanatic.
I mean, the guy clearly, like, he volunteered his tribute, and, plus my dick out. Just go ahead and, vote him out. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
Joe, do the right thing.
Yeah, okay. I don't know.
You could just. Okay. All right. Well.
It would be so troll
I
if he
guess
picked Fanatic.
He did troll you, Mr. Fanatic. This will be your last stand here. I'll be.
No.
Goodbye, Mr.
No,
Fanatic.
no problem.
No,
Listen,
I
I
just
love
fuck
you
with you.
guys.
That's ciao.
I can't believe I'm
Dude,
doing it two
Prime.
times
It's
in
way
a
too hot. I'm
row.
trying to expedite this process.
You got me.
All right. Yes, Chow, it is you. You asked
God
for it, you
bless.
get it. Please, next time tell me if you have a time you have to leave. That's very important. So
I really didn't think I would get this far.
Yeah, okay.
But I think
Once
this is like on time. This is perfect.
Okay. Anyway, tell the world about yourself.
Yeah, my introduction. I'm Senpai Chow. Games, anime, political science. I studied it in school, and you'll hear me talk about studies and this research and that person who has a PhD and is really smart. I really do think that it'll do us some good when navigating the hellscape that is politics. Polyclips is also my baby. If you're unaware of that, that's the YouTube channel that does clip compilations of Twitch politics streamers. If you are a Twitch politics streamer and you would like to be added onto the list of Polyclips, send me a DM or something like that, and I'll get you on it. Other than that, yeah, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch. Right now, right after this, anime movie night, where we're going to be watching Children Who Chase Lost Voices by Makoto Shinkai. Right now on my Discord channel.
Okay. All right.
By the way, I just want to point in before you go. Fuck you. One Piece rules. I'm catching up now. Wano arc fucking is legit, and Makoto Shinkai is like the most like ass bent like I know my anime position ever. Okay, I like Makoto Shinkai. A dog on One Piece. Okay, my boy Luffy fucking got my back.
Okay, thanks so much. Sure.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's
I don't know what
absolutely
any of that
right.
meant.
No. I mean,
Like One Piece.
no, he's absolutely right. No, he's absolutely right. I'm glad someone said the truth. Okay. So,
Yeah.
One Piece is amazing.
Do you enjoy getting into the
Wait.
meat of the episode 8 minutes in?
True. I'm
Yeah.
not even gonna be. I can't even argue that.
You
Okay?
should watch. You should watch.
Yeah, good anime, guys.
You
Good
should
anime.
read the
Okay,
manga.
goodbye.
Manga's better, but read the manga. Manga's indeed better. But Wano arc is amazing. You guys are missing out if you're not on the One Piece train.
So good.
Huh?
I only just caught up because we've been watching. I had to watch all the fucking Big Mama Island bullshit, but now I'm at Wano. Wano's so fucking hype.
All right. Well, we'll have to fight about
I don't know
Whole
what
Cake
any of this
Island later
means.
on. But okay, let's go.
8 minutes.
Oh god.
8 minutes.
Oh my god. Any which way. Bye, senpai. Okay. All right. Final four. The final round will only be 15 minutes long. Right? It's a lightning round. Lightning.
Oh, thank God.
And okay. So yeah. And we got to keep it quick because Joe's got sweaty balls. He's got to air out. All right. So we want to
Losing all the future lawyers, doctors, and presidents in real time. Okay.
Okay. Final four. Last topic. Are hot tub streamers actually cancer? Should their proliferation be curtailed by Twitch? Is this too close to actual sex work to be allowed? Hot tub streamers. We all see them. You all know them. Like, let's be real. Should they be a thing on Twitch? Should we allow that? Is it like straight up sex work? What do y'all think? 50 minutes.
Hell no.
Like, wait, no. So I'd say like the people who are going to watch hot tub streamers aren't necessarily the people who are going to watch like other streamers, like political streamers, right? So like unless you're like following like Aristocracy, the fucking hot tub VTuber who raided into the stream, right?
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily think like you were talking about like comparing like because obviously like Twitch, if you have people live, people can only generally
You're
watch
talking
one.
about Aristocracy being a hot tub VTuber?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
hot
she
tub
just did it
VTuber.
today. It was amazing.
Is she?
She's the best
Yeah.
troll on Twitch.
Yeah.
I agree. They're totally
VTuber hot
we
tub
are
is
all-
different than like actual hot tub.
But the
Again,
point I'm
that's a
making is
fair
that, like,
comparison.
As long as it's like not obviously it's not family friendly, right? But as long as it's not fucking like outright porn, I guess, right? Like that fucking chick who like pulled up, turned camera on, and like full on spread trowel. Like fuck it, dude. Whatever. If dudes want to be horny on Twitch and go and watch chicks in hot tubs, fucking let them.
Well, hold
True,
on, now.
but like,
Here's
bro,
my
there's
point.
other
Listen,
platforms for
I'm
that,
aware-
man. Come
True,
on.
just let me
I
hoop.
think I think it's absolutely ridiculous, and it's like indicative of some insane sexism. I feel like, yo, since we're allowed to have hot tub streamers and all these people, I should be able to do jumping jacks in my, you know what I'm saying, in my boxers. I don't understand why it's a problem. Why can't I stream shirtless? Maybe I might be out of shape right now, but I'll be getting in shape when I decide to, especially when it comes close to the summer. I'm probably gonna start working out soon. Why can't I show off my body? Why can't I make money?
But we
off of it?
can,
I don't
Fanatic.
understand.
According to TOS on Twitch, we can.
What do you mean?
Yeah,
we
it's
can't?
male
So,
presenting nipples.
but like, I'm willing to take. Like, dude can stream with their shirts off.
What? Since when?
Like right
I thought it
now.
was always-
Ages, yeah. As long
Nah,
as you
they
can have
like.
nipples, as long as they're
That's
male
like part of
presenting.
TOS.
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
it's
not
like
me
if you
again.
start to stream with your. Yeah, if you start to stream with your shirt off, you like. If I took my shirt off right now, we could be like TOS. But if I had like came into the panel with my shirt off, it's fine. Like according to TOS.
Listen,
But I think I would take the hit. I'd take the hit and be like, nah, screw that.
as much
And
as
have the hot tub streamers out of here too, man. Like,
as much as my bank account and my girlfriend would appreciate my follower changing and shifting into a different type of metric on Twitch, I do think that there should be a better category for things that are skirting not safe for work. What that could look like is like a different section of Twitch that is designed for like the hot tub streamers, the sort of like maybe even the sleep streamers to an extent, where maybe they could exist in the space that way. I think what seems to be the problem is like the potential outwardness of it. But like these streamers are making Twitch a lot of money. So I don't know how we can force them to adjust in a way that allows the content creators to still make money, Twitch to still make money, and then the general public of Twitch to be satisfied.
Like,
Yeah, listen,
I
want to get
yeah,
into
sorry.
it now. I'm gonna start doing it
Because I mean, I'm not. I mean, if I'm being completely honest, I'm like the Leah HBIC of Kuma streamers. Okay, I'm a chronic chatter, and unfortunately, as much as I think that we should like, okay, never mind.
That means I can do jumping jacks in my basketball shorts. That's illegal now.
yeah, technically, I think according to TOS,
I
it is.
support it.
As long as it doesn't flop out on stream, you're good, man.
Oh, I'm good. I'm about to be making some money. We in there. I think that's
Like,
great.
unironically, I don't see the point in like limiting people's like ways they can make income, as long as like everyone's like it's sort of like on fine with it. As there's like maybe we have like some level of like adult content warning on stream, but from what I remember, we already have that, right? On Twitch, where you have to say that it's like for adults or whatever.
Okay. Hold on. Kids, let me present you with like a hypothetical, right? Let's say that we start making this like this is just a thing. We start really promoting this, and it's basically like borderline OnlyFans, right? Then every time like you go to tell your family and your close friends, you're like, yeah, I do my stream on Twitch, and they're like, oh yeah, isn't that the place where like it's like softcore porn?
Well, like you can say
You don't want to be associated with that, right?
No, you could say the same thing about like YouTube. Like half the fucking ASMR shit is like softcore porn. Okay, like most people's perceptions of the platform.
Bro,
is just
I want to be able to like tell my mom like, hey, I stream on this thing on this platform, and her not be like, oh, isn't that the porn site? Like,
who are the top who are the top viewers? Who are the most viewed streamers on this platform?
According to let me look at my. Are you just saying, Joe? What are your followers? Okay, Jesus.
Right.
So
Right. So we're talking about the identity of the platform. People are generally going to go, oh, that's the place where people play games and people watch them, right? Because you got like your XQCs, your Ludwigs, your fucking train wrecks and whatever. These are like the top like earner streamers or what hours watched or whatever it is. I got sent this like yesterday because we were looking at me and my friend were looking at hours watched of like VTubers versus normal people. Don't ask.
Didn't that one chick just pass up like Pokemon for like the top Twitch female streamer, and it's because she's doing like solely hot tub streams?
Are we talking about Amaranth?
I forget her name.
Well, current
Amaranth.
okay,
Yeah, Amaranth.
I'm not gonna expose my knowledge on this topic.
You literally always just said like I'm the quote the Leah HCISC of hot tub streamers.
I mean, this is right. I support a lot of content. Okay,
there's a bunch of different metas. Like right now, we just happen to be in the hot tub meta. I don't think it's even gonna last that long. This is just that happens to be the meta right now. But it's fine. Like it's gonna play itself.
To meet the amount of rope they have.
You know what's really crazy? I've been partnered on this platform since like literally 2011. When I first started, I used I was like a big time fighting game player, right? I started streaming my composition process and me making music. There's this guy named DJ Horror who used to work for Twitch Twitch at the time, and that nigga was literally threatening to ban me for playing music on the thing because it was a gaming platform. And so then it was like, well, there has to be a ratio. And I remember at one point I was like, okay, I'm gonna stream 5 days straight of like League of Legends or whatever freaking game, and then I'm gonna switch and do music for one day. And it was like, no, even though I'm like, dude, I've streamed 5 days straight of fighting games. Like, of games. It can't be. And he was like, no. Even if you do that every single day, you have to make sure that the ratio is there too. So it has to be a weekly ratio and a daily ratio. So it's like, so I can stream for a month straight of nothing but games and do 1 day of music, and then I'd get banned for it. He's like, exactly. It was wild.
Goddamn right. Like Amaranth, she rides horses. She sleeps.
Oh, Joe knows. What else does she do, Joe?
She plays Just Dance.
No.
She diversifies her content.
Right?
What does she do when you donate bits to her?
Was she the first one to do sleep streams? I think she was, wasn't she?
Was that?
She was like the first one to do sleep streams, wasn't she?
I think so. Yeah, I don't know I'm not like the historical scholar on the Coombe, but
it's not even the Coombe, right? Like a bunch of. So like Ludwig's obviously been doing like sleep streams for the last like 24, 25 days straight, right? Like it doesn't have to be a Kumi thing. It's
and that was something that was been really unpopular for a time, to Fanatic's point too, right? Like sleeping was like the forbidden art of fucking content.
I mean, it was against TOS.
Yeah.
It was bannable, legitimately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my emotes is a sleeping emote, and I almost got banned for it. It was OD. I used to fall asleep in my stream all the time.
Shout out to Stardust. So like one of the things I think is unfortunate is that like I want to see these oh god, Jesus Christ. I want to see these hot tub streamers thrive, but I do think that there needs to be like a better path forward where in terms of keeping like the ad revenue flowing and the advertisers happy. Now, something that I think if I'm Twitch, I'd double the fuck down and be like, okay, what are certain sponsors I could curtail to this thing? But I would say that maybe hot tub streams are a fad. Maybe that evolves to beach streams. I don't know. But
I just asked, like, are we talking about like hot tub streams? We're using that as like a sub in for like, I guess, quote like sexy streamers or something, right? Or even like export streamers coming in and doing just chatting in like bikinis, like any of these things. Wait, Fnatic, I think you're muted. I don't know if you're trying to talk.
Miss Nacho was wanting to say something. I don't know if it's against the rules. I don't know if it counts to me or to whoever. It can count towards Prime. I don't know.
Yes,
I don't even know.
Just go. Come on, man. Much time.
Sorry, I was just thinking about it. Who was it? Fnatic. What?
Go ahead.
Fnatic had said something earlier, and he was like making the comment, "Well, I can't, just jump around doing jumping jacks with my boxers on or whatever. I can't go run outside in my underwear and like it be okay." So I don't know. I guess I'm more okay with it because even though they're not covered all the way, like there's bikinis on. Like if he takes his shirt off, is he gonna cover his nipples? So what's the problem if a girl has her nipples covered?
I think that it's just like the purpose of the content. Like that's really the issue is really just the purpose of the content. But in reality, yeah. I mean, like ultimately, like there's obviously going to be limitations on this. But let's be real. Y'all remember that one chick that was like always like she would always wear like the smallest of mini skirts, and she'd talk to the thing and then roll the dice and then go back to her thing and bend over to right, and it's just like, and
yes, I follow her, Fnatic. What?
They get really provocative with it. Like they're like, hold on, I gotta fix my lights back here behind my like.
Right.
Listen, like,
hold on.
My girlfriend pilled me on this, where we're like, it's like, go girl, live your best life, like just live it up. Like, I wish I was making that money, and I tell her at any point, if you need to, I have a platform already. We can just switch names and fucking start a team. Let's go.
Back in 2011, when all those streamers kept accidentally leaving their cameras on while they were fapping or like having sex with random girls, I literally had that thought. Like, if it wasn't for my deep Christian values, I promise you, I had every intention of absolutely go ahead and creating some accidental on purpose sexy moments. Because all those streams popped off.
I'm with Fnatic, man.
Man, listen, I'm just trying to get paid at the end of the day, but I just realized it ain't worth my soul. That's all.
Listen, let them hoop. Let them hoop.
I do understand what you were saying, like, it's about the content. But I think that could go both ways. Like, I feel like if I'm watching a streamer like playing video games and it's a male, as a female, I'd be distracted if he didn't have a shirt on. So I don't know. I just don't see. No, Tim, Jesus Christ.
There's already people that do this. So like you've got like workout streamers, right, who like don't wear like shirts or whatever that are just like the same equivalent, right?
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm not trying to like
personally,
be like
Again, I think
because I personally wouldn't do it. It's just not who I am. I wouldn't expose myself online, but I don't know.
Joe Lewis?
Yeah, I'm of the stance that I think Twitch is hitting a really weird situation where this is bordering an unignorable thing for them, and they're trying to be like, okay, this isn't gonna like, it's just a fad. It's just a fad. Why are they still bringing in tens of thousands of followers? Shit, why are they still following them? And then like it's gonna hit a point where they're not gonna be able to ignore it, right? Like even if we go to just chatting right now, or also known as my followers, those streams that I'm following, you got Amaranth at 4th in just chatting, then Indie Fox at 5th, current right now, and that's like high up there. She's in a tub right now. Indie Fox is in a tub. And didn't she get banned too? Literally, the title is "The Ban Queen is Back." So it's like, and then there's another one at the 2,000 mark. Like they're creeping in.
Y'all want to know another really quick history lesson? When I first started streaming during the fighting game days, there was this chick that I used to have come on. I'm not going to say her name, but she used to come onto my stream and literally just answer questions, and the stream was popping off at the time. Twitch literally, like one of this, like I think it was a CEO, literally streaming was like Fnatic stream is getting really spicy right now, and it was literally just her sitting there and answering sexual questions and stuff. So
that
I'm
happened
not
to not to name drop. That happened to Kiane. That happened to Kiane.
Yes,
She's played
it
Soul
did.
Calibur, and it's like,
Yes, it
okay,
did.
I'm sorry that she's hot French and plays Soul Calibur. I get that's the holy trinity for Coomers, but it's like I don't know what you're gonna do. And she just plays the game. There's nothing else to it. Like,
I genuinely think like I said all that just say like I don't want to be a hypocrite and say like oh man I've never exploited the system, but like I mean again this is many years ago. I think I'm a much more mature individual now. I do think that the hot tub meta actually probably does need to go. I think it is getting a little bit ridiculous. You have to think about the age limit of people that are going to be in the platform. I probably wouldn't want my kid really listening to some chick in some hot tub who's being as sneakily sexually as she can possibly be without getting banned. It seems a little bit inappropriate. This is actually a gaming platform. We do have so many other places, Pornhub, OnlyFans, anything else that people want to do. I really do think it is a little bit. It's called just chatting, not just bathing. Freak out of here. Like we put guards and stuff on pretty much every bathtub. Like I'm memeing a whole bunch, but realistically, it's absolutely inappropriate. The freak are we doing? Get out of here.
Well, I don't know if I agree that like Twitch is a gaming platform anymore. It used to be, certainly, right? With the addition of just chatting, it seems to be like sort of shedding that look, and it still has that sort of branding around it, like Discord does, right? But a lot of these places aren't just gaming spots anymore, and it seems like it's just the live streaming joint, along with like YouTube, right? But it has to compete, and we're probably better off just letting people have like more ways to make money, but making sure that we have ways of stopping people from going into it. Now, obviously, like the same with like fucking like porn, right? Kids are like, we have like the big barriers saying, hey, you gotta be 18, right? And all this bullshit, right? And Twitch has that, right? But they're just gonna fucking click past them, right? But it seems like I mentioned at the start here, the people that are gonna watch those hot tub streams aren't necessarily people who are gonna go engage with other content. They might be, but they might not be, right? Like Amaranth's audience obviously has like a strong level of crossover, but for the most part, I'm going to guess that a lot of Amaranth's audience, like he's a good example actually, like Destiny and Melina.
I think my biggest contention.
Sorry,
I think my biggest contention.
Go finish your point. Finish your point. Right.
Yeah, sure. So Melina is absolutely one of these like hot tub streamers if we're being like sort of like that, right? And a lot of her fucking audience has no idea who her boyfriend is, despite the fact that he's like one of the Twitch OGs and one of the largest streamers on the fucking platform. Like there was like a meme a while back where
and she grew so fast.
And she grew so fast, right? Where like Harkdan hopped on her stream and pretended he was fucking Destiny. Chat was like raging, right? Like a lot of people, like the people that watch these hot tub streamers aren't necessarily the same people who are going to go engage with the rest of Twitch. And I'm fine with like having these people on the platform in a way to like earn their own money for one, and for the consumers who obviously have like a want for this content to get access to this content.
Okay.
Who might not necessarily want to watch porn, but talk to someone in bikinis about fucking good sex positions or whatever, right?
Okay. So that's the round. Now this is the final round, meaning we're going to be voting for the winner, right? So when we put the poll in chat, You're gonna be voting for who wins the round or wins the whole game, right? It's up to you, up to chat to do that. You'll get the final say on that. So be ready to do that. You're gonna be voting for whoever is the most interesting, funniest, whatever it is, whatever your criteria. You'll be voting for the winner. But before we do that, we'll give these individuals like 30 seconds or so to make their case to the audience. First, Nacho, why should you win?
Look, man, I made it all the way to the end the first time on, man. We're just winging it. I got the topics like a couple hours before we were gonna go. I had a bunch of chores to do, okay? So I just winged the whole damn thing, okay? Hot tub streamers are cancer, and I love all of you guys. That's why.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Fanatic, why should you win?
Listen, at the end of the day, I am probably the girthiest nigga on this panel, and now that I know that I'm allowed to do all the things that I'm about to do, I'm gonna go ahead and be whipping my dick out on camera. That's why I should win. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, like, just like think about it. I'm like, my name is really Fatnatic. You know what I mean? Like, just go ahead and vote for me. I'm gonna become the new streamer, but it's not gonna be Hot Tub. It's gonna be Jumping Jack streamer. Yeah, I'm about to whip out.
Okay, all right. Next, we have Joe Lewis. Joe Lewis, why should you be number one stream queen again?
Because if I become the stream queen, that's not gonna make American Nacho the stream queen. I think American Nacho should be the stream queen, so we can prove the ascension of the right wing to the top. And then when people see like, whoa, Nacho was rhetorically that powerful, it's goddamn right he was.
Okay. Next, Kyo-san.
All right, I am here. I am one of you. I have been one of you for a very long time, right? I come from this community. I come from the fucking ground up, right? I'm one of the fucking Prime boys. I'm one of all of y'all, right? I'm the people's champ, right? I've won this for the first time. I'm going to be the first two-time, okay? The two-time, right? Let's go. Vote go. I think I've had the best fucking positions in this fucking discussion, right? I think I've had every fucking topic in the back pocket, right? I think every single one of you should get in that fucking poll. Let's go. Vote go. Get it in for the people's champ.
Okay, all right. Thanks so much. Okay, so now is the time. Now is the moment. You are going to be voting for who wins, not who loses. Who wins, not who gets who you hate. All right. So winner. Chicken dinner. Sorry. I was uncalled for. I apologize for that. The polls in chat. Jump on in right this moment. Jump on in right this moment, everyone. Vote for vote your heart, whatever, right? Vote your heart. Now is the time to jump on in. It's up to you. Oh, let me put the. I'm not gonna miss the time.
It's kind of incredible, right? Like, did you ever think about like what we're doing right now and like pull the like curtain back and it's like what the fuck are we doing right now? Like, I don't think like if you told me that this would be what I'd be doing 10 years from now, I think you're fucking crazy. So I don't know. I'm a little retrospective pilled right now, where it's like I didn't think the internet would reach this point. Like, it's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah. Can people actually vote this round? People have been voting all the rounds. Yeah. I mean, it's not many people. So now is the time. Hey, this is the final time. Hey. Don't blame me if your favorite does not win though. So now jump on in. If you haven't been voting before, now's the time to do it. Don't fuck around. You're gonna miss out. The timer is already up there. Vote right now. Vote this moment. Also, after this, of course, so this is the final round, but of course we're gonna have our open walk on panel right after this. Open walk on panel right after this. Hope we'd love to have you all there. So take your time and vote here. But we're gonna have a whole other thing. We'll talk about stuff. We might talk more about hot tub streamers because I actually want to jump in on this topic and I think it's really interesting, and they've been blowing it up here on the platform.
Did you think that people will be making money streaming from a hot tub 5 years from now?
I think I could have maybe predicted that much at least. So like what, cute women, women in bikinis, right? Oftentimes very much stacked, making a lot of money by sitting there talking to. Yeah, I think I could have predicted that part.
It's such a weird time, right? Like,
is that? I don't know. Is that a weird time?
Donald Trump was president of the United States.
Wait, what?
There are people making bank on just by streaming just I would argue just their lives. There's people who watch that and converse over the internet. It's just like, man, 2021 is weird as fuck. I'm getting a little
it's
bunty,
cool,
but
I just don't think I feel like it's representative of all of us on Twitch. So if you have these people in the top 2, 3, 4, 5 positions, man, and then you have people that are new to Twitch coming over and they're just scrolling through like the top Twitch streamers and they see some naked people in bikinis, they're gonna be like, whatever. And then you're trying to tell them like, yo, check out my channel.
And
You know
then
what I mean?
I think something too is kind of weird. Like, okay, so as an individual who gets scared every time they open their Instagram when I have to show a student an actual musician. Like, I don't know if anybody has ever had that experience where you use your Instagram of like, oh, let me show you this musician that's really, really cool. And then like it's just, listen, I gotta clean up my followers. But anyway, it's
because I'm married, bro. I can open any of these apps. Twitch is like my last safe space.
No. It's crazy.
But if you weren't married, you wouldn't have a problem with it.
Wait a minute.
My girlfriend, to be fair, supports the coon. She just thinks that I can't follow any more people. She set a cutoff. She said my cutoff is 3,000 followers, and I have 2,946. So I'm incredibly selective of the individuals that I follow on IG right now.
Joe, I fucking love you.
Yeah, it's close, man. I'm running out of people to follow.
Everyone, now's the time to vote. Vote, vote, vote. Link is in chat. Don't dick around. Vote, vote, vote.
Vote for America, guys.
Jump on in. The water is warm.
Don't let this damn Aussie come in and take us all over, okay?
Okay.
I will say this.
This isn't about being Australian. This is a global movement, okay? People's champ.
Get this damn kangaroo lover out of here.
Has anybody else's DoorDashes hit the point where they just stop caring? You ever have that problem?
Wait, what?
Wait, say that again.
So like, okay, so I gotta it happened to me again. I ordered McDonald's today. It was a Big Mac. And in the Big Mac, there was no mac. It was just bread. Just bread and bun. And this is the second time this has happened to me. And a part of me is just like,
fuck it up the other way. Because I asked for no meat, and I got like a 1 in 6 chance of getting meat. Okay, it's understandable. I get it. You're reversing the process, but how do you fuck it up and forget to put meat on the bun twice?
Yeah. Then, or like I'll put like clear directions on where to drop it off, and I literally write in the directions, don't drop off at the front door, there's a giant beehive, and then I get a text of like, hey, I don't know where to drop off the order, there's bees in this place, I don't know if I should drop it here. And it's like, well, if you read the directions
yeah, I have very specific directions and they always mess it up. So I feel you.
Okie dokie. Round voting period is over. Voting period is over. We're gonna put dramatic music on. Dramatic music, right? Because I'm gonna refresh, and any votes that come in afterwards, well, guess what? You're fucked. You should have voted before. I told you to. I don't know why you guys wait. It's a weird thing that you all do. It's like, I don't know. But okay. All right, so we are moving forward. We're moving forward. Okay. So we'll start from the very bottom and we'll work our way up to the top. As to who won first, at the least vote getter, though we love him, though I love him, get you right, Mr. Fanatic. Look, I love you, right? The people you don't need anyone else's love. All you need is my love, okay? Right? That'll satisfy you, right? Great. He's speechless by my compassion.
I am speechless. I'm always speechless. Listen, at the end of the day, when I need to get on these panels, the way I get on these panels is by my boy Prime. You're the one that invites me most of the time. Like, I enjoy it here. I don't really need to be doing this thing at the end of the day. I'm really just happy to be on the panel and talking and sharing and making sure that I'm not like just spending too much time with myself. I'm a hyper introvert. And if it was up to me, I wouldn't talk to anybody almost ever. So this has kind of pulled me out of my shell a lot, and I'm thankful for that. So at the end of the day, I'm just happy to be there and have the conversations. In reality, what really matters the most is not these panels for me. What really matters most is music. I'm a musician. That's what I do with my life, okay? I don't play at it like I play at politics. I don't play at it like I play at Twitch. music is everything to me. And it's so everything to me that I'm going to supply you guys with the link, okay? Because I'm a dreamer, okay? And sometimes I make the music that appears in my dreams, and it's so freaking amazing because I get to experience what I experienced in my dream in real life, and my conscious mind gets to experience this thing. And that's how I make a lot of my music. I literally fall asleep, wake up from my dream, rush to my piano, compose the song really quick that I just heard, and then it feels really good to be able to recreate this thing that came to me in my dream. And that's freaking amazing. It feels like someone else is composing it. And I love it, and I love life. Thank God for him giving me the talent and the gifts and giving me the strength to actually do this thing and not get bored with it. Here's the link. Listen to my latest song. It's called Araya, dedicated to my niece, and then I'll probably be releasing another song within like 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. Check out my music, check out my stream. You know where to find me, all that stuff.
Hey, I'll even put it up on screen. It's right there. Look, on screen. There it is. DistroKid.com. Okay, sure. /fanatic. One and Araya. Hold on, fuck. Did I say it right?
Araya. Close. Araya. You're very close. You said you would play my music on your panels. You said you were gonna do that.
I did say that, and I literally fucking forgot.
Yeah, one of these days we're gonna do it. Yeah. Listen, on the all black everything, he's gonna play some of this music.
We're gonna have to run beforehand, then yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, cool. Okay, so there it is. I'll link that link up there for you, because we want you to succeed, buddy. All right. Next, third from the bottom. It is American Nacho. You made it pretty far. How are you feeling, buddy?
Dude, I'm feeling fantastic, man. I'm just glad that I was invited. I love all the guys on this panel that are left. Everybody's awesome, man. Prime, love you for doing what you do, man. Bringing all the sides together. Joe, I always like your pretty reasonable takes. Fanatic as well, and Kyo-san, I love you because you're Australian and you could basically say anything, and I would love listening to you because of your accent. So, but yeah. So, what else is there to say? I stream. I game, I do politics. I'm also a big fan of Fanatics for the music. I'm also a musician to some degree. I grew up singing from like the age of 3. My mom taught us how to sing. So I do music. I just don't do it on stream. Like Fanatic, he's kind of brave for that. I'm too much of an introvert for that. So, yeah, kudos to all you guys. Thanks for letting me on here.
Do you want me to shout out American Nacho or the Republican Nation, or which one?
Yeah, my channel, American Nacho.
Okay. Shout out American Nacho.
Oh yeah, I do also stream for TRN though.
All right.
So yeah,
I'll
go
do
check
both.
them out as well.
I can do both.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. So both links are in chat. Go check them out. All right. Okay. Now the exciting moment. Right? You only all been waiting for it. The moment that makes your asshole tighten out of nervousness. Okay. We have two individuals left. Two mighty former champions, right? We've gone head to head now, and who have competed. Who have done an amazing job competing against each other, right? But fantastic performance. But only one can win. Only one can take the Stream Queen title for a second time. So, second place, runner-up winner. It's Joe Lewis winning Kyo-san once again. Takes the title. Kyo-san. Yep. Yeah, I know. It's brutal here, out here. Okay. Yep. Okay. Isn't he beautiful? Kyo-san, your stream queen. Once again. But conveniently, he managed to do it without Hans around. So I don't know, just put that out there.
I know, without the Judas here, without the man to sell me down the river 30 pieces of silver, as managed to win. It's weird, isn't it?
Before we let Kill take his fucking victory lap, it is time for Joe Lewis. Joe Lewis, tell a little about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Joe Lewis. I stream on the internet, argue with people on the internet. But I actually have a little bit of a call to action, as I usually do. Listen, my girlfriend's not having a good go. She's getting the COVID stressor. She's getting the vaccine tomorrow. And if you guys would be very, very nice, I put her Twitter in chat. It'd be me and Eli if you just give her a follow and just be like, hey, you can do it. I don't know what you say. She's an essential worker, so you have to be simps for her. Okay, I'm telling you, you can. I'm giving you permission to show her support. because she's having a rough go. She's been on the front lines of COVID as a restaurant manager, and she's been a little bit stressed today. So, and she's been watching this from the whole way through. So it'd be kind of nice if you guys give her a little bit of follow.
All right.
Some other followers that she has includes Maddie Cakes. Don't you like Maddie Cakes? Don't you like Doc Midnight and Chaos is Mel? And Cory Booker. Somehow Cory Booker follows my girlfriend.
What the fuck?
She hasn't. I know. Based. I can't even get that fucker to follow me. So she's there with some very famous people in her follows.
All right.
There's 200 of us.
Well,
Anyway,
I will be 292 apparently.
My man.
So yeah, I'm on that train. Everyone, go follow Joe's girlfriend. I will spam her link in the chat for you, Twitter link. Everyone, go check it out. Go check out Joe's girlfriend. And in fact, I'll even I'll kick Fnatic off for now and put Joe's link. Yeah, there we go. That's her.
More important.
That's her Twitter link right there. Everyone, go check it out. Go show her some support if she's feeling bad. She allows us to borrow our good friend Joe Lewis. Week
she
after
does.
week. So I thank you, because Joe actually means a lot to us in this stream, in this community. So thank you, and I hope you feel better. All right. Last but not least, of course not, because he's the motherfucking winner, right? He is the stream queen, taking his crown, right? I would send a sash and flowers to you, but I don't want to invest that much.
He's insane. He's insane on the base, man.
Oh, what? Who? Okay.
I am not a great bass player. I do play the drums and have played the drums for over a decade, but I don't play bass.
Unless
well, okay?
bass means bottom.
Oh.
Wait.
What? I don't know what that means. Okay, great. So, Kill San.
What just happened?
Now is the time. Yeah, now is the time to take your victory lap. Yep, he's doing it again.
I knew it.
He's
I knew
literally
it.
doing it again. Okay, great.
Damn it, man.
And he's wrapped the cord around himself.
I actually managed to kick over my light. That's what I did. All right.
Yes.
But
Play
so
some tune on the guitar, man.
pardon?
Play us your victory song on your guitar, man.
No way, dude. I'm not a guitarist. It's just there for looks, okay?
It's just a prop.
I do sing though, and I do play drums. Though I don't play drums currently. I do sing for this band. So if you could go and listen to my music, it'd mean a lot to me. If you like punk and hardcore, that's up your alley. I yell about union shit, which is cool. I am very, very appreciative of everyone who made it today. It is my strong belief that we only become stronger by running edge against edge, and especially these Final Four. I couldn't have asked for a greater Final Four. I appreciate every single one of you. Always lovely having conversations with every single one of you. I don't know why the fuck Fnatic got at the bottom though. That makes me really sad because I think Fnatic's fucking content as fuck. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, what's that supposed to mean, man? Come on.
What? I don't even know, dude. I'm just saying, like, I feel bad for Fnatic getting shafted like 2-3 times in a row. Okay.
He's partnered, man. He's good to go, man. He's got it made in the shade.
Yeah, true. Look, I just want to say that every single person here, very, very smart. You should follow every single one of them. All their links are already in chat, but you should definitely go and do it. I put Fnatic's also music link in my chat as well, so you should definitely go and listen and support Fnatic's music. Really good stuff. Listen to it, really liked it. That's sort of like lo-fi vibes, cool stuff. But also check out my music. That's the only thing I'm gonna link. It's really cool to be the first two-time queen. I just wanted that. Okay, I wanted to have that milestone. I want to be put in the Hall of Fame. So I've been going for it for weeks, which is cool. Well, this is my to be fair, this is my third Primetime, but yeah. So fourth. But yeah, I was very, very lucky. I very much appreciate your support, chat. If you could follow me on Twitch, I'd really appreciate that.
Kill, is your music safe for stream? Can we play it on stream? Is it DMCA free?
Yeah, absolutely. As far as I understand, unless my record label hasn't like said anything to us about that. I haven't got done for it anyway.
Yeah, mine's also DMCA free. That's great. I'm gonna play your music now.
Yeah,
it's it's pretty heavy. It might not be like a groove for everyone. Okay, it's very it's like I said, like if you're into punk, go for it. But yeah, really appreciate you having me on Prime. Like I said, you're a fantastic tentpole of the community. Always really appreciated your work. You're such a stand-up dude.
Okay, all right, thanks so much, dude. All right, so here we go. we are all done with this. We've made it another day. Kyo's show is our stream queen, and we're so happy to have him there. We are going to roll on to our walk-on panel. Any of the amazing individuals here can join us, but if not, that's okay. Thank you for spending your time, your energy, your passion, and your knowledge with my community. I just know they appreciate it just as much as I do. Have a good one, everyone. Bye.